Friends, if you're looking for real old school laughs, you're in for a treat because we've got them right here. Flip City Magazine. Remember MEAD magazine? Then it went woke? Well, don't worry. Flip City has no chance of going woke. That's right. 4 times a year, you'll get an actual printed magazine full of jokes, stories, comics, and more, all about today's pop culture, entertainment, and woke politics. Flip City takes terrible entertainment trends we love to hate with hilarious parodies of Lord of the Rings, Stranger Things, The Walking Dead, Star Trek, Hunters, and more. Trust me when I say there is nothing else like Flip City on the market. So subscribe today. It will be delivered in print, or you can even get it digitally if you're one of those wacky Zoomers. Either way, follow our link and sign up today, and if you put in midnight, you get an extra 10% off. Check out Flip City Magazine today.
I wish I had made the home radio, and I can set the all. I am desperately clinging to the ball. I think I just can't find it around my home. I feel the force flow through me, and I see my life flash before my eyes. I wish I had tried everything and got it supersized. I tried to explain to my mom how the symphony was just me. A real big break, yeah, I shat my pants twice at work, and we're fucking done. I wish I had made the home radio, and I got second Dorito. I am desperately clinging to the wall. I think I just shat my gallbladder off my wall. I had made the home radio, and I got second Dorito. I am desperately clinging to the wall. I think I just shat my gallbladder off my hole.
Welcome, everybody, once again to Midnight's Edge After Dark. Hope everybody's having a wonderful. What is it? Thursday? Is it Thursday?
Yep.
Yeah.
Thursday.
And everybody now knows what Tom had for dinner.
Ate the whole burrito.
Nice.
Well, that's actually the rock version of the mariachi song I released last week. And there's been a couple more songs released, so check those out if you guys haven't checked them out already. But after the show, because we got a show for you today. We got a lot to talk about in the news. We've got clobbering time celebrating the real birthday of Superman. Isn't that right?
Yeah, buddy.
The real
Copyright
world.
Day. The real world one. Yes, he has the fictional one on February 29th, and April 18th is, of course, the copyright day when that was filed for and approved and all that good stuff. So he'll have another one next month in May, in a sense, when his comic book actually hit the stands. Dated June, but it was actually May 9th or something like that, whatever. I was forgetting. So he's so great. He has 3. But yes, today is, I guess, the most important one, right? Because they got approved for him, and there you go.
Well, for now, anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also have with us a Canadian script doctor. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Happy to be here this evening. Lots of fun points on the docket tonight, so stay tuned, everybody.
Indeed. We also have another Canadian with us, CC Karaoke. How you doing, CC?
I'm doing okay because I did not eat the burrito.
That's good.
Really quite.
Or the whole enchilito.
Yeah, I'm happy that I did not make that poor decision. So
You don't like burritos?
won't have to clog the RV's toilet.
He say he doesn't want to deal with the consequences of his own actions.
He doesn't want to be clinging to the bowl.
I kind of want a lasagna burrito.
Ooh, that
Lasagna is basically bougie pizza.
Yeah, it's
That
well,
could
it's pizza without the
convince me.
bread.
Yeah, it's just with the noodles instead.
What are you, a lasagna burrito? Did you say?
Yeah, lasagna burrito.
Sure.
I've heard about that.
No, I just made it up.
Oh, now I want one. Now you tell me I can't have
I
one.
want one. What kind of false salesmanship is that?
Well, I mean, I actually am thinking in my head, like, I know exactly how to make that.
Exactly. Like, that makes sense. Like, it should exist if it doesn't already.
Yeah. What's that?
And we also have with us, speaking of flavors, 32 flavors of Nick Weiser we have here. How you doing, buddy?
Hello, Tom. Hello to our panel and to our ever exquisite chat. I'm happy to be here. And yeah, we got a murderer's row arsenal of topics, and a few of them are absolutely going to get shredded. So let's do that.
Yes, indeed. We have some toppings today. And we have Price of Reason with us. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Especially now that I've heard your new song.
Well, that was one of the earlier ones, but yeah. But did you hear the one I posted earlier today? That's the one that was played on the Pigtail stream this weekend.
Oh, wait a second. I think I've heard all your songs because you
may
upload
have
this big file with all these tracks that I was listening to.
Perhaps. You may have heard the country album. There's more coming, kids. Just wait. This is just the beginning.
I feel like you're making 20 tracks a day. I can't keep up.
Something like that.
I heard a lot of them. You gave me like a whole album. It could have been the country one, though.
Probably was. But how you been?
I've been good.
Good. And yes, a lasagna burrito does sound good. We need to make that.
I'm surprised people haven't made one.
I'm sure they have.
Script Doctor has created something special again.
Yeah, right. For real.
Wait, well done.
Mexican and Italian, the best mixes.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
That's kind of like, they're almost like a perfect marriage, but there's a little clashing going. It's spicy and sexy. It works. Anyway, hello out there to all the people in the chat. We got Daryl Brewer throwing around a wrench. How you doing, Daryl? Let's see who else we got here. Mecca J's here throwing around a wrench as well. So watch out. They don't tend to look for heads. They just start swinging. But we got some regulars here like Josh Hammond, Ham Dingers here. SXHBK is here. Red Syrup I saw in the chat. Don Johnson. E. Clay Thomason. How you doing? We got Rick Johnson here. How you doing? And yes, happy birthday to Andre. That's right. Happy birthday to Andre. He's out celebrating his birthday today.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, boss.
We got Lombardi. We got Cheese Factor. How you guys doing? Putin's Cat. Scott Hughes. So many regulars in here. Hit that like button. Let everybody know that we are live because we got some stuff to talk about. In fact, we also got Mr. Tickle Trunk. Speaking of not only members, but mods. He's been here for 34 months. That's almost 3 years, kids.
Wow.
And then he gifted 5 memberships. Wow. Thank you so much. Yes, the boss man's birthday, indeed. So head on over to X and wish him a happy birthday.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get on that subject tomorrow a little bit. But where's Bat Tom? Bat Tom is sleeping. It's still daylight out. Well, at least it is here.
I got some gloom over here, and I know we're like 2.5 hours away. So
yeah, it's a little gloomy, but I mean it's still daylight. That doesn't mean he wakes up until like 6 or 7, but he might be up pretty soon. But thank you, Mr. Tickle Trunk, for that. And yeah, with that, let's get into the main topics. Speaking of Superman, this was partially a story we were going to get on the other day. So we'll start here. This is the story that dropped the other day that we didn't get to, and that is Superman has found its mom, Pa Kent. Now we know who Pa Kent is, and it's Taylor Vince.
Taylor Vince, yeah.
Pruitt Taylor Vince, who we have seen in lots and lots of films. He's a character actor. So yeah, like I want to get everybody's reaction to this, and then we'll move on to Ma Kent. But we had an interesting conversation about this before the show last week, which is sad because we should have had it on the show last week.
Well,
Because for the most part, I want to say it sounds like the lot of us, not everybody, but the lot of us are kind of on the side of what? Why did you cast him and what? So, all right, let's go around the panel here. Klobby, since you're our resident comic book historian, how do you feel about this casting for Pa Kent?
Well, I don't know. I don't know anything about the actor, and I except for what. In fact, right after this was talked about the other day, I talked to a friend of mine who says he's actually from my hometown. So, and he has met him a couple times at some shows and things he's done down here, or whatever. Says he's a super nice guy. And he's seen him some other stuff. Says he's a good actor. I believe that. I've heard that, but I don't recall if I've ever seen him in anything. I'm sure Script's probably seen it some stuff, but I don't think I have. I'll just say that I grew up in an era where my Superman, golden and silver and bronze, Pa Kent died by the time Superman went off to be both his parents, really, except for the movie where they changed that a little bit and made one of them alive. But Pa Kent had passed when my Superman didn't have them. So then it was revised later by Byrne in the 80s and into the 90s. After that point, it was just accepted that Pa Kent was alive when Superman was an adult. So it's not something I've ever been totally used to, really, because I don't like a lot of anything after 86. But I'd say that some of the people who have played the Superman with the Pa Kent with the later Superman, which I'm sure he's going to be alive and stuff, have had some pretty good actors, I guess. Some I'm not too thrilled with. I'll just wait and see with him, but but you can't tell much by this one picture. Gunn can be a weird as a caster, but like I said to you guys before, I guess he's getting old, but I would have expected Greg Henry, who Gunn puts in everything. So I don't. Who knows, man? It won't be damaging to the film, I'm sure, but one way or the other. I mean, there are other things more concerning, I guess. Hasn't Ma Kent been cast also, or do we know?
Yep.
That I don't know anything about.
Yep, we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it right after this. Yeah.
Okay, I did not know. I was asking.
No, that actually dropped today, so it's perfect timing. So on that note, before we get to Ma Kent, was there anything else you had to add?
No, I'm good. No, I mean,
right.
I have nothing against the guy or anything. It does seem a little off, but you got him next to a picture by the Gary Frank drawn Pa Kent, who and he drew him to look sort of like a old Bo Duke. A little bit, I think.
John Schneider, yeah.
Oh, yep.
Well, you seem to be the most unconcerned, let's say, Script about this casting. So what's your thoughts?
I think it's a decent casting. I think the actor will be very glad to have this role because it's one of the few times he's not playing a creep. So that's a big change for him. And yeah, I've seen him in interviews. He is very, very approachable. He's the type of guy you could see being a Pa Kent when you actually hear him speak. I mean, Pa Kent's the type of guy where everyone in Smallville would go to him for advice if they had to. He's that type of guy. And I think that's interesting. And fun fact is that there's only been one other actor that's played Pa Kent while Superman is Superman, and that's Eddie Jones. And all the other Pa Kents, they all played him when he was a boy, like Superboy or just Clark Kent. And there's never been another adult Pa Kent around.
Yeah.
So
if you don't count the cartoon,
if you don't count the cartoon, right? Yeah. Which is a guy who sounds a lot like James Gardner, but it wasn't.
It was Mike Farrell.
Mike Farrell, yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, I think this is a good type of casting because it might surprise us. And listen, he looks like a farmer, and I've been all over the United States and parts of Europe, and I'll say this one thing: farmers have like three very distinct aspects of them that identify them as a farmer, and this guy has at least one version of that. So I think he's in good company physically for it, and I think a lot of people who have seen him in weird stuff before will look at him and be like, oh yeah, he's convinced. I hope he convinces us that he's a good Pa Kent. Like, that's the other part on the screen. I think he's a good enough actor to convince you that he's always been this type of guy and not the things you've seen on like The Walking Dead and True Blood and all those other, more spicier shows.
Yeah. Yep.
CC?
I actually I like everything that I've seen him in as a character actor. I'm a fan of his work. And I'm with Script on this one. I think that he can actually pull off that warm-hearted father role quite effectively, and I think that this will turn out to be a success. Now, if you're comparing him like to the picture on the right, his hair's in the wrong part of his head. He's but looking past that preconception, yeah, I actually think this will work. Just maybe not in exactly that, like, well, frankly, more classic kind of like built, head full of hair and old football star kind of way. No, he I think he as long as you get past that notion, if you have that preconception, I think he's perfectly capable.
All right, Nick.
Okay, so I'm not aware of this guy's credentials, so I have nothing to base off of him. But so right now, my observation is going to be solely based on does he look like John Kent? And obviously, this photo may not be the fairest photo of him, but by this photo, he doesn't really look like him. Maybe they'll give him a wig or a toupee, and maybe I'll see how he looks in farmer mode, and maybe I'll be sold then. So I feel like there's not enough here to judge off of. That's pretty much it.
That's a fair
hard to-
perspective. Yeah.
it's really too hard to judge. Especially since I've not seen him in anything. Maybe if I had seen him something, I'd be like, oh, okay, I can now see it, but I don't even have that, unfortunately. So, but that in a way, also that's not a bad thing, because I've noticed with a lot of the actors and actresses that they've brought on so far, most of them are names that I haven't recognized, and I don't mind the idea of lesser known people being on this. I feel like that is better that way, especially you want to see the character first and not the actor first for some of these characters. So I'm definitely not opposed to that in that regard. That's all I got.
Bryce?
I don't know. I'm not excited about this casting. He looks like a mechanic, not a farmer.
But farmers have to be mechanics. They got to fix their own rigs.
He looks like when you go to the mechanic and he's trying to like tell you that there's all these problems with your car, and he's kind of running up the bill, and you can't really trust him. That's what
I
he
agree
looks
to you
like.
a point. I think Josh Hammond nailed it in the chat. He's the type of guy who tells you the best offer he can give you at the pawn shop. That's what he looks like.
You know what? That's an even better description.
In fact, I think he played a pawn shop guy at least once or twice. Like, that's the thing. That's the kind of like, and I, not to jump in unless you have anything more to say, Price. Go ahead.
No. I actually think that that is probably an even more perfect description. The pawn shop guy. Although the mechanic was close, but the pawn shop guy, I'm sold on that idea. This is the pawn shop guy.
Yeah, I mean, here's my problem, and I wish I could be like Nick and say I've never seen him in anything. Like, I knew exactly who he was right away, and that's my problem. He is a good character actor, and that's the right idea to get for Pa Kent, right? You want somebody who's got a little bit of gravitas, can handle the role, but not necessarily somebody who's going to be distracting, right? And that's where Donner got the casting right, and generally it's been one of the better cast roles throughout Superman history. I want to give this guy the benefit of the doubt, but that's the problem, is I've seen him so many times in that sleazy role, whether it's, some bad guy, or I think he even played a diddler once in a movie.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's where it's like I have a hard time seeing this guy in that.
Dean Cain in a role like that after Superman? I mean, that's
Christopher Reeve.
Oh, was it?
Perhaps.
Christopher Reeve. I'm sorry, I'm getting my Supermans wrong.
And they made him look exactly like Clark Kent in that movie too, specifically.
Oh, that's weird.
Do that.
Here's what
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, what I'm trying to add to that, is granted, I know like getting into the mind of that type of role is probably not got to be fun, but to me, a good actor has got to be able to play those type of parts. I mean, I was initially against the casting of what's his name, John Bernthal as Punisher. Like, I was one of the guys I was up in arms against that decision. You all know why? Because all I saw was from season 1 Shane of The Walking Dead, and that was the only season I watched. And in that season, I could not stand his character. I couldn't stand him. And I saw him in, the Daredevil show. And I'm like, oh, okay, hey, he was pretty good. I'm glad I, got a different experience out of that. But yeah,
That's what I mean. Yeah, he's definitely the kind of guy who usually plays chubby thug. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
And I mean, I'm not saying he can't be transformed.
To
was
be
also
fair,
Let an
though,
actor act, but
to be fair though, Nick, John Bernthal in Walking Dead, you were supposed to hate him. The character was really a jerk, and the fact that he's screwing over Rick and with the wife and all that stuff, you kind of don't like him right off the bat. So I think that it was a testament to his good acting that you didn't like Shane in Walking Dead, because I didn't like him either, but he was good as a Punisher.
yeah, and I think this guy was in Constantine, if I remember right. Yeah, that's the thing. He's been in so much stuff, but I guess he hadn't really acted in a few years either. He's been like, I don't know, since 2018. But
He retired until Gunn called him.
Maybe he refused to cooperate with certain elements going on in Hollywood at that time, or in the other parts, and that's why.
That's interesting.
When you see how he interviews and stuff, you're like, he seems like a guy that wouldn't want to be have his privacy infringed upon, so to speak.
And he's no Tom Fadden. So. Sorry.
Right. Well, let's take a look at who our Ma Kent is going to be.
Okay.
Let's see here. Where is my? That's the John. Oh, it's this. Okay. That's what happens when you got too much crap opened up on your cover. Oh, that's the fucking. All right. Why can't I find? There it is. Okay. I had to scroll down. Sorry. All right. DCVU finds it's Martha Kent. So yeah, we now know who Ma Kent is as well. This just came out today, thanks to Nick for alerting me to it.
They must just like search up any picture they can from a comic. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Nah, pretty much. But I guess Neva Howell is who's going to be playing the role, and I guess this one I don't mind as much because I don't really recognize her all that much. Maybe seen her in a couple things. But,
I like how they give this why Neva Howell is the perfect choice for Superman. You don't know. We just.
I hope this isn't CW casting because David Zaslav is cheap.
Oh boy.
Okay.
She seems fine to me. I mean, she looks like your typical.
Well, you can tell it's not CW casting because the actors aren't drop dead gorgeous and
they're not. Yeah, they're not 20 years old.
And she already played Farmer Lady in Diary of a Wimpy Kid Long Haul. So I mean, I guess she's kind of already got some experience.
I don't mean to sound pragmatic, but I wonder because if you notice with the Kents in this movie, they seem a bit older than some of the other Superman stuff we've seen. I wonder if they're not going to have the long lifespan throughout this series of movies, and they might even die in the first movie. I'm just saying they seem a bit older, so maybe that could be a reason for them to die of old age.
And in most cases, I was going to say, in most cases,
of course they were supposed to be older at this point, which makes sense. But it's definitely making me.
Well, not even at this point, just older.
Series long.
Yeah, but not just older in general, like now though, Nick, but like they were old when they found Clark. Like that was kind of the point is, they never had children. And, so they were already a little in the midlife age range
at least
when they
over
found
45,
him.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least that's what I'm saying. Like somewhere in the, mid to late 40s to early 50s range. So then we're looking at 20 some years in the future. So yeah, now they're pushing.
they're in their 70s. Yes.
Say what you want about Zack Snyder, and there's a lot to say, but his casting with Kevin Costner and Diane Lane, that was good casting.
That was great casting. That was the only thing in that whole situation that I thought he nailed, and then he fucked it all up by having Costner going, "Yeah, let the little fuckers die."
And then Moss Kent saying, "You don't owe the world anything."
He made him a conspiracy kook.
I also didn't mind Russell Crowe. I didn't mind seeing Russell Crowe in the movie also as Jor-El or whatever.
Did you like
Russell Crowe's ego prevented Jor-El from being Jor-El because how does Jor-El beat the crap out of Zod in a fist fight?
I don't like Jor-El action hero or Jor-El the ghost or that kind of crap though.
Oh, I'm not with that either.
But no, the writing is awful, but I didn't mind him. I didn't mind the casting of this movie at all. I thought that the casting was good. It's just the screenplay wasn't.
Yeah.
There's only one Jor-El, okay?
That's the best Jor-El.
There's only one.
Are you sure, Tom?
I'm absolutely positive.
I mean, are you sure though? I don't
My
know.
son the mute, my only son.
David Warner was a okay Jor-El.
Yeah. I'm not saying there hasn't been some that were okay. I'm just saying the one that tops them all is The Godfather. Of
George
course.
Lazenby's my favorite person.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Lazenby. When did
yeah.
he play him?
On the Superboy TV show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
George Lazenby got a job after he quit James Bond.
He had a number of them.
I've seen him on 2 or 3 shows.
Oh,
I didn't even know that he
There you
got
go.
he had a job.
He's actually
played
voiced
Jor-El.
cartoon characters in Batman Beyond and other stuff too. Yeah, he still works whenever he wants to. He's got a lot of money.
He was Jor-El on that, and he was the Pretender's father on The Pretender.
Well, it's nice that he got some employment. He actually is considered one of the, I don't want to say dumbest, but he made one of the dumbest moves an actor has ever made. So it's nice that he actually gets work.
He admitted it later. Watch his that documentary about him on Hulu. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, he's technically never considered himself an actor before. He was a salesman, and he wasn't an actor here, and all this stuff. And
have you seen
that
got
into
documentary?
acting? Yeah.
Have you seen that documentary about him on Hulu?
It's a classic case of the success going to the head of the guy so fast, like in Guinness Book of World Records, success going to his head.
Yeah, it was made for Hulu. I don't know if it's still on there, but I mean, it was really good. It was, but he narrates it, but they dramatize his life, his whole life, and how that all went down with the James Bond casting. I forget the name of it now, but it was so good. It was amazing, and he admits it. He had a good sense of humor about it. Poor old Lazenby.
Well, at least that.
Yeah. What happened? All of a sudden, we went from volume to.
But in any case, I'm not impressed with these castings that we've seen until now. But
yeah,
I hope that this movie will come together. Sometimes you have a movie that everything about it seems bad, but at the end, surprisingly, it's actually good. I'm hoping that this is the case with this movie, because nothing I've seen until now has really wowed me. But at the same time, you kind of feel like maybe James Gunn will really make an effort not to mess it up. I really hope so. It's not that I'm rooting for him to do a bad Superman movie. I don't fully trust him.
No, I don't trust him.
That's fair.
I kind of like it. I'm getting the same feel from this casting as I got with Pa Kent casting. It's not what I would have conceived of in my mind as like a couple who are very strong alpha parents, like leaders of a community, necessarily in the physical sense. But I think they're both good actors who would be capable of presenting a strong American couple, like someone that you could look at as an admirable parent, right?
I hope so. I hope it's not like
life.
I hope it's not quirky parents. If it's James Gunn quirky, it's going to annoy me.
I'm not getting quirky from it. I just think the thing is that they're going to present something a little bit more frail, and not necessarily like in a weak way, but just not I don't think they're capable of being like physically like they're not. And it's not to say they should be like Superman. Like they actually should be, but they should actually just be like a good, admirable American farmer couple, like someone that you could look up to and say, this is a really good parenting couple who's is going to instill good values into the child. I think that they're capable of delivering that, right? But it's just like it's much more unassuming than I might have thought of in my mind as Ma and Pa Kent, like from past iterations of Superman.
I thought that would have been named at least closer to names.
I'm not even sold on David Ballsweat or whatever his name is.
He seems like he might be a decent Superman, judging by at least his appearance. He seems like as far as how he looks, and I do like that he has a tall height difference compared to the ladies playing Lois Lane. because Superman is kind of supposed to tower over Lois Lane a little. So I do like that comic book accuracy, and I'm good with that part. I think he just needs some muscle, not too much muscle. We don't need to be a bodybuilder, but the right amount of muscle and he could be a good Superman. I don't think he's going to be an issue with the movie. I really
I
don't.
hope he's,
Maybe it's
I hope
my
he's not a
optimism
discount Henry
speaking.
Cavill. He's not a discount Henry Cavill.
No, he's not. My concern is pretty much the one I've had since they started announcing a lot of people for this cast, is that I worry it's not going to be a Superman movie. It's going to be a Superman and Friends movie. That's still my big concern about this, because I want a Superman movie, and that seems like nowadays that's supposed to be like off the rules nowadays of doing for these types of movies. It's got to be, you gotta have the female role there too of the other action hero. You also have the non-white character there too. Like, I can't unsee this trash now because of it.
Right.
And that's unfortunate, because it shouldn't have to be like that. But that, I don't need that to be a thing. Like, let this be a Superman movie. I mean, once again, if there's one thing where it was like a cameo scene, okay, great. Or even like an after credit scene, okay, great, fine. I think that's actually the best possible outcome, and even makes more sense. But if they're going to be like this full-fledged supporting roles where they're in a chunk of the movie, they ain't a Superman movie.
Well, I mean, it's only not a Superman movie if it takes your eye off of Superman. Like, that's the other
what
part.
I'm worried this is going to do. Script is that.
I don't know. I don't know about that. I mean, it's really bad form for the other actors to kind of outshine the lead when it comes. If they are there for supporting or cameo.
It is bad form, but however, we're in current year nowadays, and nowadays they care so much more about ratio.
Current year is only on Disney's side of things now these days, man. Like, the other studios, they don't care about that crap. So
I hope you're right. I want you to.
We'll have to wait and see. But I think that I think that James Gunn is taking an approach that Jeff Loeb did when he was doing Hush, which was that there's been 2 generations of existing superheroes in this universe, and he's not going to make Superman's the first appearance be the dawn of that mentality in his universe. And as a result, he's peppering in these other characters, which I suspect every single one of those superheroes is actually going to be needing rescued by Superman.
I hope you're right, man. Also, I will say that the Lois Lane actress is good. I've seen her in a number of things, and she is a good actress, and I think she may be good
more than David Cornsweet too.
What? If she's worth the talent, then
she was on the hit show Marvelous Miss Maisel, Rachel Brosnahan. She has
I've heard that show.
She has another more pedigree and credits to her name, and if her agency was smart, she probably got paid more than Superman, if not the same, because she's a bit more. She has a higher quote. David Cornsweet, character actor, been in a handful of things prior.
That's what worries me.
What's wrong with? I mean, no, that makes it great, because basically it allows the audience to imprint only the Superman role onto him and not think of him as something else.
Like Chris Reeve, who was only
and that's
operas.
I guess, maybe,
and that's why I like this role here being cast by this person, because I don't know her from anything, so I'm fine with that. And that was the same thing why I admire that Nick can go, I don't remember this guy from anything, even though I know I've seen him in I've seen him in so much stuff, I don't even remember the things I've seen him in, but I just know the type of character he always plays, right? And that's a problem to me. But I hopefully can get over that hump, and when I get to the show, get to see the movie, these guys are the perfect Kents. As long as they're not telling Clark, to let kids die and
right.
Not save your dad and all that crap if you can, then I think we'll be all right.
The concern is hopefully they don't come off as too weak, right? But I think that they're good enough, like as actors at their craft, that they should be able to.
You know what I like about this, and I wonder if Klobby was going to say this too, is that what I like about this so far is that these guys, even if I try to forget the roles that I've seen Pruitt in, these two feel like salt of the earth type older parents.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what I'm getting at here. So I'm okay with that.
And not only that, the characters of the Kents are not really the same as a character like a Superman or even a Lois, in the sense that Superman in particular, as all superheroes, are very visual characters. And when they don't get those right, it usually aggravates fans. Well, because you got to get the look right, you got to get the costume right, you need the face right, all these different things. background characters like Kent and others, or Perry White, or even Jimmy Olsen. You want them to be right. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. But it's not exactly them. They can vary a little bit. Superman doesn't need to vary much. You got to have get to as close to a Christopher Reeve type face, or an even Henry Cavill type face, or you got to have the face right. And then
Corn Sweat looks right for the role. That I will say.
Yeah. I'm fine with that. Yes, I think he does. I'm saying, but superheroes are very visual, and as a comic book fan, and this is as a comic book geek, granted, I want him right. Or when I watch the movie, it takes me out of it. I want it to be. I want to feel like I'm watching that character pop up the page. Whereas I'm not that necessarily that way about an Uncle Ben or a Pa Kent or a Thomas Wayne or anything like that. They can vary a little bit if the movie's good.
No, yeah, totally. Yeah, and I mean, look at let's take Man of Steel for instance. Movie, we hate it. We call it Man of Stool, thanks to Clobby. But as far as the casting goes, I'd say he got about 80% or 90% of the casting right there. The only one that I really kind of not really keen on would be, I love Michael Shannon as an actor. Just not a good choice as Zod, in my opinion. But I know a lot of people liked him in it, so that's fine. Yeah, same thing with Gladiator. Amy Adams would have been perfect as she would have been perfect as Lois Lane 10 fucking years prior to that. That's the problem.
Yeah. Maybe. And she should not been a ginger. She should not been a ginger either. I don't like that.
I didn't mind that, but I get what you're saying.
Lana's a janitor. Well, again, I think Lois is expected to be a certain way.
Yeah. I have a lowest expectation.
I mean, she's not the first
Lois. My favorite character, but she's not the first expectation.
She's not the first Lois to be a gender, though Noelle Neal was technically, but so still, yeah.
If that was my main issue, was she's too old. I can forgive the redheaded shit. My problem was she was just too old.
Yeah, she was 9 years older than Henry Cavill.
She was.
Margot Kidder and Rachel Brosnahan, I think were under 5 years older than
I think
their respective leads.
What Margot was 4 or 5 years older than Chris?
Margot was 4 and 5, and I think Rachel Brosnahan is 4 or 5.
Which is fine.
Older?
Yeah.
But she looks the role. She looks like someone, and there's the big key. When I look at a Mom and Pa Kent, they can vary a little bit, or an Uncle Ben can vary. When I look at a Superman, I said, yeah, that guy looks like he could play Superman, or so, and so on and so forth. That's why it took a lot of people a hell of a lot of time to get used to Michael Keaton. Even though he turned out to be fine if you like the movie and stuff, you don't look at that guy and go, Batman. Bruce Wayne, Batman. No, you don't. I'm sorry. Nobody did. That's why in 1988, when it was announced or whatever, everybody was running around, because this was reported on about at cons. When it was announced, people were walking around going, Michael Keaton?
Yeah.
Keaton? We were doing that. I mean, my comics that we were doing that. Everywhere you went, someone would walk in there and look at each other. We go, Michael Keaton?
Well, and I probably could have even let the age thing slide with Amy, but the problem was, and it's brought up by Doba Fett in the chat, they had zero fucking chemistry. She seemed to make Henry come off like a gay dude. Like he had no interest.
No chemistry.
Whatsoever. Fucking
It seemed like she liked him, but he didn't like her.
Right? He I could give a fuck about this bitch.
Let's be honest. She's a cutie, but I mean, she's not.
She is, but she doesn't.
She's not Terry Hatcher.
None whatsoever. And people say a lot of shit about Margot Kidder. There's one thing you can't fucking say is her and Chris had fucking chemistry like you wouldn't believe.
They did. Early on, she wasn't. She was kind of.
Same thing with the first one. With Dean Cain and
Terry Hatcher.
Terry Hatcher.
Yeah.
You can feel the spice between them. That's what you need to feel, and that's what worked for. I can't speak to Dean and Terry's relationship. They seem like they're still good friends and all that stuff, so they probably had a good relationship. And even talked about how she came into the, and got the role basically. And that was an amazing story he told on Midnight's Edge in the morning, because I'm like, shit, she did that on purpose. Mm-hmm. Like she knew exactly. She is Lois Lane. Like she did a Lois Lane, right? Like on you guys. So she was built for that part, right?
When she was told that Lois Lane doesn't have the long hair that she has, she just went to her car and cut a whole section of it off and went back in.
I could see her doing that. That's amazing. No, she clearly wanted the role and she clearly knew what she was doing. And that's one of those moments where worlds collide, where you have that perfect person walk in the room and you know that they know the role. And if you don't give it to this person, you're making a huge mistake. And I mean, regardless of what people feel about Margot Kidder's look wise, she has exactly what she needs when she's playing Lois. She's
True.
completely oblivious to everything else in the fucking world except for what she's working on at that moment in time, because that's the most important thing in the world to her. Right? Like
Yeah.
that. And then when it comes to Superman, though, she turns into that, little high school girl who's ready for prom. She's all butterflies and totally different woman. So she got that part of the role, and that's what matters. And I think Terry had some of that, but it's a little different dynamic between those two. And hopefully they have that here with these two. So that I think you guys are right. But I think Jam and John Cause, to change gears just a slight bit here, has a really great question here. Will the parents be this old when they find Clark? Well, we don't know, because from our understanding, we don't even know if we're going to see them find Clark. We don't know how much of the origin story we're going to see. I don't even know if we're going to get any
maybe a flashback
stuff on Krypton or any of that, to be honest with you, because it sounds like they're going to try and hit the ground running with this one, kind of a la Incredible Hulk or Lois and Clark kind of thing. Yeah,
I think they should. They should just go ahead and start out somewhere where he's already established. You can do a little flashback thingy if it makes you happy, but don't get
and a lot of that stuff can even be handled in dialogue as well.
I don't mean necessarily a literal flashback. Just if you want to do a slight encapsulation of the origins here and there, that I wouldn't mind much. Just don't waste any time on it.
Yeah, well, maybe this whole story is happening on like the 3rd anniversary of Superman. And
that would be for that.
Right?
Well, he said it's early in his career, right? So that's what I'm saying. So we may not ever see any of that stuff.
Right. That's cool. I don't need it. Everybody knows it at this point, right?
Well, I mean, everyone that's an adult does. Kids don't.
Well,
now,
find out.
If they do actually happen to do flashbacks, I doubt they'll do much more than just makeup or a little, age regression or whatever, CGI on them or something like that, just to fill in. But I don't think they'll have 2 sets of people or anything like that. Because like I said, there's only 20 years probably difference here we're playing with at best. So, but that being said, let's say they're 47 when they found them, so they're 67 now. That sounds about right. And these actors are in the age range to where they can play both ages, probably with just some makeup and not even have to worry about CGI. Wouldn't you say, Script?
Oh yeah,
probably pull off both angles.
The youthful makeup is pretty easy. You just put in a little tape and you cover it up under a wig, and you're good to go. And remember, like this Clark Kent, he's like in his early to mid 20s, so you're looking at between 23, 25 years from the time they found, the baby Kal-El to him being a cub reporter in Metropolis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's see what you guys are saying out in the chat. We got Mr. Oh, go ahead, Clobby. Finish up. And
then reporter. That's another problem. How can he be a reporter? There are none of those anymore. They don't exist.
Well, that's in our world. Luckily, we're going to a fictional world.
Yes, a fictional world where
that's what's funny is we're getting more fictional worlds all the time in movies because they almost have
we
to.
Need them.
Well, cell phones would solve every problem anymore. That's half the problem.
There you go.
Yeah, you don't need a photographer anymore. You just need the reporter with your cell phone.
Your damn phone.
No, everything. And I'm not just.
Peter Parker's
every movie would be like 2 minutes long half the time. I mean, they just be a fucking video.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You ruin everything. Technology. Good.
But anyhow, let's go see what you guys are talking about in the audience. We got Mr. Tickle Trunk sending in $2 Canadian. That's a toonie. Says, I'm just happy Pa Kent is a man at this point.
That's a good point. Hey.
And being adoptive, they didn't even go with the whole, it doesn't matter if he's white, right? Yeah.
Oh, I'm shocked that he is white, to be honest with you. And I don't mean
no, if you're going to go by that logic, it makes more sense to make Clark not white, right? Like, if anything, that's kind of why I like Dean Cain, because being American, American Japanese or whatever, he has that kind of look where he doesn't quite look Japanese, but he doesn't quite look American. So he does kind of have like his own unique kind of look to him. That was what I liked about Dean Cain.
His sushi man nickname.
Yeah. I never liked that show. I never liked that show, but I do like him.
But I know Script's a big fan of it too. But yeah, Perry White is not white. You know what? I never had a problem with that though. I thought, see, and that happened prior to the woke crap, because I never remember anybody having a problem when they announced Morpheus was playing Perry White. Everybody's like, okay. I can see that.
I heard some people complaining. I mean, I don't know why you have to make the change, but I don't think anyone made too big of a deal out of it.
I looked at it as, see, and at that time, like I said, I wasn't even in the mindset I am now.
I think it was still wokey though.
My logic was this, and I mean, you could look at it a little, but at that time, this is 2012, 11, 2000.
Oh, it was still, this stuff's been going on way before 2012.
Oh yeah, I get you. But my point was, is when I heard the casting, I'm like, okay, I can see that because we're in a modern time. Perry White would have been somebody who would have been, probably in high school or college about the time the civil rights movement happened and all that kind of stuff. That probably would have sent him down a path of getting into journalism. I could see this Perry White, and being the person they picked is he's got that gravitas. He's got that demanding presence that you need out of a Perry White. Now, is he going to be the cigar chomping, give me the pictures, kid kind of thing? No. Yeah. Is he going to be that? No. But what he was that, I mean, like I could have seen Morgan Freeman or somebody else in the same doing it too, right? Right. As long as you have that kind of person in that role, I'm fine with it. And
he's a good actor.
I didn't have a problem.
Likable actor. Didn't even use him really. I mean,
not really, sadly.
No. Well, that's because Zack Snyder doesn't know anything about how to write journalism or shoot it. The other
don't call me Sugar Chief. I mean,
how many? There's lots of character actors out there, but when you're dealing with like a Perry White, like they had Frank Langella in Superman.
Yeah, and he was fine. Yeah,
and he was great. But it's like, okay, now we're going almost 7 years later. Who's another white guy that it's a good character actor that kind of fits the role that people kind of have a little bit of a name to, and you're hard pressed to find them because at that point here, the older white guys are kind of being phased out of Hollywood at that time.
Well, what's his face?
Lawrence Fishburne was, I think, a very inspired choice. The problem is that he's barely in the movie. They don't use him for anything. They don't give him any fun lines. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't have the Jackie Cooper speeches that he had.
Well, Lane Smith is still the best 70s. Perry White. I don't care what anybody says. That's the thing about Lois and Clark. It has some great. The one who played him in
Lane Smith. Yeah. Fantastic.
To me, he was one of the best. But he's one of those actors that just comes in and just chews up the fucking scenery, though. So that's the thing that's great about him.
I think you brought up a really interesting
John
point,
Hamilton.
Tom.
My favorite's John Hamilton, but
which one was he in?
George Reeves' show.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, yeah. He's the
Caesar's ghost.
He's the version pulled right out of that comic at that time, basically. Yeah. Sorry, Price, you were saying
Jackie Cooper was great. Sorry, go ahead, Price.
Yeah. No, I was just saying that I think that you brought up a really interesting point, and I also say this about myself, what you just said, that I think prior to 2016, prior to 2017, if I went to a movie and maybe some character was swapped or something like that, I wouldn't really think much about it. I wouldn't think about it one way or another. I wouldn't really...
That's kind of where I came from, yeah.
It's not like I wouldn't obsess, and especially Lawrence Fishburne is a good actor, so it's not like they suddenly brought some guy, that they just found... loitering, what's that word? What's jaywalking? It's not like they just found some miserable jerk outside and then he's the guy because they needed casting. They chose an actor who has a lot of credibility. So I really didn't think about that stuff at all. And now the sad part is that each time they say it, it has a different feeling. It's not that they just chose that actor. You're already thinking they wanted to replace this, they wanted to replace that, they have an agenda. And in a way, I feel like they've ruined whatever natural progression was happening with some kind of diversity. Yeah. They kind of ruined it. They actually took it back decades just because they made it so annoying and they made everybody think about it every second. Otherwise, I think people were just a lot more chill.
Yeah, it was like Samuel L. Jackson. Everyone put up with it. I mean, Nick Fury was an established character for a long time.
Way Billy D. Williams is Harvey Dent.
And there's a story about the Billy D. Williams. Then what they do? They changed it back.
Yeah, and then they changed it back for Tommy Lee.
Yeah, we got screwed. As much as I like both actors,
I agree. We did.
Billy D. Williams played it better.
I still love one of those forever, but that was not right as a casting.
Yeah, but so I'm with you. The Lawrence Fishburne thing wasn't a big deal. Which is like the Samuel L. Jackson one wasn't a big deal, but they're both big time great actors, and everyone likes them. Yeah. Not like it is today, I agree.
Yeah. Well, let's keep going with these super chats here. We got RRTNZ. Thank you for that.
Hey.
Just terrible casting and that's from NZ. Where's that? Is that New Zealand?
New Zealand, that's my buddy.
New Zealand, I would think so. Them are Kiwi bucks, right?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Cool.
Hey, RR, good to see you, buddy.
Hello, sir.
Terrible casting for the Kents. Even MOS did it better. Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to argue with that part, at least. But we'll have to wait and see how well they do in the movies. Movie, to be fair.
Zach finally got some Some love from
Well, Zach's busy
some
making six
exoneration.
Rebel Moon movies now, because
He's planning 6. Whether or not he gets them, we'll find out
He-
Saturday when his piece of crap movie debuts.
he's in
Nobody
such
watches.
demand that that's what he's got. That's what he's hoping for at this point. I think a lot of people have finally learned that this whole thing of his is just a big fucking charade.
Well, it's a grift. I mean, he's even just
Grift,
recently
whatever,
said that his
yeah.
2 movies are actually the R-rated versions are in another universe. It's not even the same story. It's like you can't focus on one.
How the fuck does that work?
Ask the guy that doesn't know how to write or read. That'd be Zack Snyder.
Oh my god! I mean, I have a hard time sometimes articulating my thoughts, especially when I get flustered or frustrated because I'm autistic as hell. But look, motherfucker is like a perpetual 12-year-old who's never seen a tit in his life. I swear to God. And then we learn he's like half gay or whatever. It's like, what the fuck?
He's what? Who?
Half gay. Oh, that's what I call bi people now.
Are you saying Zach is that? You saying the guy that made 300?
He admitted it or something like that. Well, and that's the thing, and that's what really turned me off about the guy is he's in that interview with who was this? Jeff Rogan,
Joe Rogan.
right? Joe Rogan. Sorry, Joe
Rogan.
I don't know. I'm not good with names.
Close
You're
enough.
lucky if I get these guys' names right. Like,
You got it.
I can't even name my animals. My cat's name is Kitty. Like, what the fuck?
Good name.
Or asshole when he's being a dickhead. Like, that's about the best I can do. No, I'm just
You should name him shithead.
Just couldn't find anything that fits, so I call him Kunta Kinte when he thinks he's all that.
Oh man.
And people who know my cat get the joke. But yeah. Anyway, Max Redstone says, Clobby, where are my goddamn motherfucking pizza rolls?
Well, I set pizza rolls on an envelope. I didn't get them yet. Some more. Give me
Oh, you're doing that's what I thought.
We do that.
Plinkett.
Yeah, Plinkett.
You know what's funny about Plinkett? I get accused of doing that voice all the time, and I said that's not fair because we're all from Wisconsin, right? And I was basically drunk. That's basically drunk Wisconsin guy you meet on the fucking street who knows everything about everybody.
That's right.
I tell you, that fucking kid don't know what the fuck he's doing. He's a dumb shit.
You know,
Then you're like looking at him like, what the fuck do you know, dude? You don't even have a fucking job. You're like,
you know my favorite thing he ever said?
What's that?
Fuck you, Rick Berman.
Yeah, fuck you, Rick Berman.
Oh, yeah, 'cause of our first contact.
Star Wars Episode 5 is the most disappointing thing since my son.
I love Mr. Plinkett.
I do too.
Oh.
Well, my buddies and I used to laugh at that because we're like, that's the guys we know that would just walk down the street in the middle of the day that are drunker than fuck, going telling everybody their business. You know what I mean? It's like,
What happened to your face?
yeah, what's wrong with your
Face.
face?
Well, too bad they just don't make those Plinkett reviews anymore.
Yeah, I
I
missed the
know,
Plinkett
man.
reviews, man.
I remember one time I brushed. I mean, I've heard rumors about them watching us and other things like that. But there was one time only that I brushed with Mr. Plinkett, the actual Red Letter Media.
Really? Oh,
And that was when I was watching Collider in the earlier days when they just switched. I think it was when they were switched over to Collider. They may have still been just regular AMC Movie Talk then, but it was a while. It was a long time ago. And he was in the chat. And I said, "Where's my fucking pizza roll?" He goes, no pizza roll for you.
I went and ate some pizza rolls one time after, so we got some at the store. Said, "Oh, those are pizza rolls. Let me get some."
You never had any?
I didn't remember. This was years. Man, I mean, he's been on since like
They're horrible, but they're like crack.
I kind of like
Right?
them.
Like
I
they
like them
taste
for some
like
reason.
shit. And you know you almost feel like you're getting your arteries hardened while you eat them because of all the grease and shit that's in them.
I guess.
But as you go through them, you're just like you hate yourself more and more, but you can't stop. They're like popcorn chicken. Once you pop
I've
one, you
never
can't-
wanted to stop. I just
Exactly. See, they're like fucking crack, and you're like, God, these taste horrible.
I don't have any arteries. I'm fine. I don't have arteries.
There's probably a bunch of MSG in them or something that just keeps making you go for.
I haven't had them in a long
Just,
time, but I did because I saw him talking about them. I don't know if I'd ever had them before that. And yeah, these are actually kind of cool.
That's what I mean. They're like,
I'll mail you some, and I'm gonna put them in an envelope.
send me an envelope with
With
and
a
I'll send you a pizza
roll.
Send a pizza roll to Clinkhead at P.O. Box.
Oh.
Wow.
Oh, there you go, Max. That's my our music meister there, the great Max Rich.
Oh. Oh, I can breathe. I can breathe.
Oh yes. Well, hopefully you can breathe. Otherwise, you're dead.
You should breathe sometimes. I've heard that it's good for you. I mean,
And Joe Pat, just so you know, I did not skip your super chat, Joe Pat. I'm saving it to get us back around to that topic, just so you know. And we also have in the chat, we've got Nicholas Horton.
Hey.
Says, "Hail, the voice of Megatron does not fit." Oh, I was going to save this one too, but yeah, this actually kind of gets us into that here. Actually, it looks like, except for this one, we'll come back around to that because the rest of them are all Transformer related anyway. Dragon's Blade sends in a member chat for 9 months and says they'll never top Lane Smith as the Great Shades of Elvis.
Yes, Great Shades of Elvis.
I loved him though in the role. Yeah, they all
good.
were pretty good. They all were pretty good though. Like
I didn't like
Jackie
Superman's
Cooper was
costume
great
on that
too.
show. On that show, my problem was
You didn't like the
Superman's
sheen?
costume. I hate the like wet blue look to it. It bothered me. I like him. And the show,
I didn't hate it.
We used to call it the Harlequin Adventures of Superman. Like, no
It
show
kind of
should be-
is though.
No show
No,
should
it
have
is,
Lois's name before Superman. Sorry.
Well, that's just the
I-
way
I
on
object.
Lewis and Clark. That's why.
I know, I understand that, but I don't have to like it, do I?
Well, not only that, I liked it because Clobby, in that sense, what it's telling you is this is not your
I
your
know, but
old Superman kind of thing.
look, I was married at that time, and I was not allowed in the room when my then wife was watching it because I was such an a-hole about it. Making fun
I
of
can
it.
see why. I can see that.
That and Quantum Leap and Beauty and the Beast, the three shows that I was not allowed to be in the
What
room.
the fuck was wrong with Quantum Leap?
Quantum Leap.
I got, don't get me started on Quantum Leap.
Oh
Quantum
shit!
Leap is bullshit.
Now I'm curious.
Now we're gonna get into a debate.
Price, come on, we'll talk about it sometime. Man.
I was gonna say that's like a good way to end your show,
What
Price,
is it,
is
a
to
bunch
have
of
the ultimate debate with
anachronisms or
Clobby.
what?
You didn't like Quantum Leap,
It's not
Clobby.
I have my reasons, but they're weird. But anyway, look, a lot of people love it, and
I gotta hear this, but let's save it for an actual. Let's save it for.
I understand this the follow-up series of Quantum Leap. You should hate that. but-
Right,
Oh, I
that
don't-
one
I
sucked.
I'd have to watch it to hate it, wouldn't I? No, I hate it anyway for you, just for old time's sake. Oh, look, do not get Clobby started on Quantum Leap, says Max. I promise I won't. I don't dislike the show itself. I have reasons for I don't like its existence, but there's a reason for that.
Oh wow!
The reason it
Okay,
exists.
I really gotta hear this.
Hey, you're teasing us, man.
Save it. No, save it.
no.
Save it for
Okay.
Price. I'm serious. I want to hear you and Price debate this show when
It
he's
won't be a
done doing
debate
his
because
reviews.
I respect fans of the show, except for Max.
No, I know. I think it'll be a very fun show to listen to. That's what I'm saying. I want to hear your reasons, and then I want to hear him.
It's nothing.
You know, if
Nothing.
he has any
It's-
rebuttals.
It's really not a criticism of the show. It's a lot of people love it, and I respect the hell out of that. I even like Bacula now because of Enterprise. So there you go. And everyone hates Enterprise but me. So there you go. We're even.
No,
Oh,
I like
I
Enterprise.
love Enterprise.
I like
I like
Enterprise.
Enterprise.
well, cool.
Scott Bakula is awesome. That's why.
He's awesome, and he's awesome in Enterprise, and I
I
like
almost didn't
Enterprise.
watch Enterprise because of Quantum Leap, and then I did like a lot. So there you go.
You know what?
Yeah.
He's
What?
even in Major League 3. And
Yeah,
I
he
like
is.
it.
Part of the
And
bubble.
necessary.
And so is
He's in
our
Chuck
favorite-
too.
and our favorite actors in there too.
I'll even go one step further.
Walton Goggins.
When Enterprise got canceled, that was pretty much the last time I watched cable television.
Oh wow! But it was the end of Star Trek for sure.
Yeah.
I loved it. I even defend the early seasons, which a lot of people don't. Everyone hates it. Except me. Now I'm glad to know there's somebody else. Well, there are a few people.
All right. Well, getting us back on the topic at hand.
Sorry about that.
Joe Pat, no, you're fine, brother. Joe Pat 87 sends in $4.99 and says Transformers 1 from director of Toy Story 4, a CG movie that looks stupid as the same studio's Paw Patrol cinematic spin-offs.
Oh wow!
I don't think there's any sarcasm in this. I think you're actually correct, right? That this is from the same director.
Oh,
And on
boy.
that note, Nicholas Horton also says, Hale, the voice of Megatron doesn't fit the character, and the animation looks more like a video game than a movie. Actually, it looks like a TV show. But yeah, I get what you're saying. I agree. Should have brought Frank Welker back. Yeah, and
Yeah.
Peter Weller. What and what the fuck, y'all?
Frank's still out there. Frank's still out there, man.
Oh God, Frank, he must
He's
eat
immortal.
baby souls or something like that. I don't understand. He made a deal with the devil. Okay, because the man has been around in the industry since 1922,
Wow.
and he's still here. and he looks like a 50-year-old man, and he's like 167.
So he was doing voice work when everything was still silent. Wow, it's amazing.
He taught dogs how to bark. So only some people get that joke, and I'm glad Klobby did, because that's where he started. Is he was the guy who was like, we need a dog, or we need a this, or a horse, or whatever, and he'd come in and just go, and just do the thing. Yeah,
he did the voice. His name is in the credits of Star Trek 3: The Search for Spock, because he did the screaming of the young baby Spock, or the young Spock on the Genesis planet.
Well, I mean, he's done everything from Gremlins to, I mean, he's Fred in the Scooby-Doo. That's his basic voice. Ray is also kind of his basic voice.
I saw him in
Real
a comic
Ghostbusters
back in January. Looks good.
He's basic. That's what I'm saying. He's like a freaking. I just seen a recent interview with him not too long ago. I'm like, there's no way. He has definitely got some sort of like secret to keeping yourself looking young, because this guy has been in the industry forever.
Yeah, he's pushing 80. So.
I know, right? Like, I mean, come on, dude. How can you look that good? But I would love to know his secrets, man, because I don't even look that good, and I'm half his age. So, I'm like, the fuck? But anyway, we're going to get on the Transformer news, but one more thing about the Superman thing. Sergeant Point Blank does want to point out, so it's poignant, that Pruitt was great and Justified. Well, I have to check Justified out. That's a show I've heard a lot about, and I just haven't had a chance to check into yet. So let's get on this Transformers thing now. Let's say happy birthday to Superman. Move on to the abomination that is Transformers 1. Has everybody here seen the trailer?
Yes.
I have not.
Because every time I show a damn trailer on here, I have to clip it out. So, okay, in other words, I got to show the trailer. All right, well, we'll analyze this anyway.
I can go watch it if you want.
No, you know what? This thing's a fucking train
Getting
wreck
it up
anyway.
now.
I'm getting it up. Okay, we've got both Hasbro and Paramount dropped this today. I'm going to do the version from Paramount that actually has the intro, because I think this is even worse or bad, just as bad, or indicative of what we're going to get.
Well, the first mistake is they got these high-tiered actors to do voice work for a cartoon. What a waste of money.
I recognize one of them.
I recognize the name Brian Tyree Henry, but he did something to himself that he doesn't look familiar.
Yeah, I'm familiar with his name too.
So I know I've seen him in shit, but he didn't look like this. Like something with the hair or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. Let's kick this thing off.
What is up, Transformers fans? Well, this is it, Brian. Our trailer is about to drop. Oh man, I can't wait. I can't wait either. Oh yeah, let's.
He looks so fucking exciting over it. He's like,
yeah,
I'm here because he's contractually obligated to be here.
I like cartoon. It's a cartoon, right?
The Transformers 1 trailer starts now.
Do it.
What a fake ass laugh.
Good.
Oh my God,
I like it
that
too.
was bad.
The Transformers 1 trailer starts now.
Oh, look.
How long do you think we'll be here? I'm not talking to you.
You know what? We are so screwed.
Thought you weren't talking to me. You two, come with me.
So right off the bat, I guess Optimus Prime and Megatron were friends before they were Optimus Prime and Megatron.
So
That's
basically, it's the X-Men First Class version of the Transformers.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Report to Waste Management.
Mixed with the Guardians of the
Hi there.
Galaxy
I'm B127.
tonality.
I'm actually working on some nicknames.
No.
Which
The one
doesn't
I'm
work
right now
at all.
is Badassatron,
Getting
which
a
is
little
actually
Spider-Verse
pronounced
vibe too.
Badassatron.
Okay, let the cringe begin, guys. Like, yeah,
Something
Super
from the
cringe.
Ninja Turtles movie.
This is
I'll laugh.
patronizing.
it is worse than it almost looks worse than the Ninja Turtles. At least in this one, they know the characters enough that they have some characterization here, unlike the Ninja Turtle movie.
Those
And
faces
it's not
look
as
horrible.
the mistake with the Ninja Turtle movie they made is they let the kids just improvise and talk over each other, so it's like it's almost unwatchable for most of the movie because you can't understand what's really going on.
We're gonna call you B.
I know we're just lowly worker bots.
And they're like the Power Rangers too. Check this shit out.
Don't you want to see what's out there?
There's a reason no one goes to the surface. It's dangerous.
Why'd you bring jetpacks?
If we survive this, I'm gonna kill you.
I accept.
They fly now.
They
I
fly
don't
now.
like
now.
this super comedic tone. Okay, so I have
This
in
sucks.
the last year I've been getting into Transformers. I have read around 10, 15 comics. I've watched about 5, 6 episodes of the 80s cartoon, and I've seen the first movie, and not one of them has this type of tonality in there, whether it's something good or even something not good. This does not fit these characters at all. It feels Ragnarok, Guardians of the Galaxy, MCU,
Thor: Love and
comedy.
Thunder.
Yeah,
It's
it
buddy
feels
cop without knowing what buddy cop means.
Did Taki Wakiti direct this crap?
it feels like it. It feels like it. That's for sure. It
Why
definitely
why
feels
is
like it.
Optimus Prime this kind of dorky jerk off?
I
How
don't-
can that be?
Well, in the original G1 cartoon, when he was Orion Pax, he was not a heroic bot.
Mhm.
I don't know. I've seen all the episodes of that original cartoon, and I don't remember him being a jerk off.
He wasn't a jerk off. He's just not heroic.
No, he's
Step those-
he's like a little weasel here. The way he talks, I don't like it.
I accept those terms.
Chris Hemsworth doing an American accent is almost unrecognizable.
Yeah.
I don't even
I'll give him
recognize it as
that.
him.
I'll give him that, but
And I
he does
mean,
not
no,
fit this
but
character.
am I
either.
supposed
He
to
has
believe
these
that a robot's
character-
voice is supposed to go deeper as he gets older or something? Like Optimus hasn't gone through fucking puberty yet, or what?
No, his voice changes when he gets the Allspark and becomes Optimus Prime.
Autobots, roll out, but I never sound like this in this movie.
That was good.
He doesn't. Even when he does the thing, though, you'll see here in just a few minutes. Yeah, when he turns into a Power Ranger. Oh, and of course, we got classic song remixed into a fucking trailer. Can't get away from that
Guardians
shit.
of the
Rolling
Galaxy,
Rolling
man,
Stones,
with
way
the
better
trailer.
than this
It's a
trailer.
Guardians trailer.
That was
James
probably the
Gunn
only
will
thing
have
that bit right there was the only thing that actually made me chuckle the first time I watched this. But I'm like, if this wasn't a Transformers movie, it would be funny. But it's like I'm not watching a fucking Pixar movie. I'm watching Transformer trailer, right? Like if this was like a bunch of little lovable robots that just weren't supposed to go to the surface, and that's what the story was for a Pixar movie, the humor would be fine.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah.
I don't
This-
expect
this
it in
style-
fucking Transformers though.
This style doesn't fit these characters. They put MCU phase 3, 4 humor and threw it in these Transformers, and they gave it a Guardians of the Galaxy style trailer and another prequel story that we didn't need. I am aware that there is this history with Optimus and Megatron. That's true, but we didn't need this type of movie. We didn't need the story. We just do not need
Kids
it.
love this.
Yeah.
Also,
Love it.
In
I mean-
1967.
I don't know, man. When I saw them live during SARS,
Yeah, they had a
in the early
revival in
2000s,
the 80s. Yeah, and
like there were
throughout the
10 and there
90s.
were 8, 9, and 10-year-olds that were jamming out too.
Yeah, they
that.
well, they became one of those bands where their parents took their kids and stuff to them, kind of like the
Yeah.
But not today.
not
Well,
today.
today
well,
they
they're
listen to AI music. They don't listen to real
Yeah.
stuff.
Well,
Tell me
I-
about
this
it.
movie is AI. It's just
It
it kind of feels
McDonald's
like some bits of
schlock.
it. I mean, the jokes are look. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not like the jokes are necessarily bad jokes. They're just bad jokes for a fucking Transformer movie. If this was, like I said, some generic Pixar movie, and I'd probably be okay with it. I'd just be like, all right, I guess we'll have to see how it is when it comes out. You know, like, sure. But all right,
It's like they think that they could just throw any style of what they want the movie because, well, it's got to be attached to a big IP, and we're just going to attach it to that because the story could be what we want it to be.
Mhm.
This doesn't fit the Transformers at all. It's clear that I'm pretty sure these people are aware of that, but they are probably given orders to make this type of movie. Just throw the
Hey, don't even-
Transformers in it. The story's probably even written, and they're like, "Hey, which IP do we attach to this?" The same way Tom King did his story damaging Wally West.
I can
he
see
already
that.
wrote the story, and and he literally went to DC and said, "Hey, what characters are
God.
available?" And that's how that all happened. They probably had this happen here with Transformers 1.
they sound like doofuses. They shouldn't be this way.
Yeah.
No.
And then Daryl Brewer, I wouldn't say this about GoBots. That's harsh on the GoBots, man. This is worse than GoBots. All right, let's
Wow.
finish this Fucking nightmare.
Proven yourself worthy. Take these.
Go Power Rangers!
And I'm pretty sure that's Lawrence Fishburne.
Potential.
Yeah, it sounds like which is the only voice that I like.
Oh, is that like you just, if you're gonna have a Morpheus like character, you just get Lawrence Fishburne now? Is that what you do?
Yeah, casting agencies in Hollywood are not very imaginative.
As long as you can.
Evidently not. But yet we got, I guess so I shouldn't bitch too much about that Pruitt guy, should I?
No, Lawrence Fisher, he's the only voice so far in this that I feel like has actually been good.
Feels like a voice actor, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
he's good at he's good as voice actor. I know it's easy to go with the safe names, but if you have to have one of the big celebrity names, he's definitely worthy of it because his voice really fits characters.
Now, if you'd have told me Lawrence Fishburne was playing Megatron, I'm fucking there, dude.
That would have been even better. I would like that. Him as Megatron. Oh yeah.
Because I understand Frank can't. That's part of the problem is Frank can't get his voice where he used to do it. Same thing with Starscream. So he tries and he does like a close version of it, because they let him start doing the voice again. In which one is it? The third or the fourth Transformer movie?
I didn't see those later Michael days. So
I can't remember which one, but yeah, he does it again, and he does kind of a close approximation of it, but it's kind of a little bit different because he can't get his.
Or they altered it.
They did alter it, of course, as well. They had all the.
Because I think I remember seeing
all this crap and stuff too.
Re-record lines for Megatron because Hugo Weaving did Megatron the first one. I think I remember seeing him doing. He was in studio doing voice recordings of the original Megatron for I think the video game adaptation.
Who did Starscream then? Okay, I thought he did. I'm sorry, my bad.
And he nailed it at that point. But the video game stuff, they altered it and changed it. So maybe he still can do it, but they remix it so it doesn't sound like that because they want it to sound differently, which is silly.
Well, that was the excuse they used, at least at the time. I don't know how accurate it was. The excuse was that he couldn't do the voice anymore of Megatron. So that's why they had Hugo Weaving.
More money because they didn't give him enough.
Well, he was in there doing a different voice. I can't remember which one it was, but they had, the whole thing was they had Peter Weller too. But if I remember right, there was somebody else. Or Peter Cullen. Did I keep saying Peter Weller? I'm sorry. You know what I meant.
Yeah.
Peter Cullen. Because I thought that they wanted somebody else, but who was it? I can't remember now who said we should have the original voice do it. And they're like, yeah, okay. And they were going to do the same thing with Welker, but then Welker couldn't do it anymore. They didn't think he could hit the voice. But it was probably just an excuse so they could have a movie star's name as at least one of the Transformers anyway. I don't remember exactly anymore. It's been so long. I don't even give a shit. Let's continue this crap because this is making my brain melt.
It's time to show them we are more than meets the eye.
Worst portrayal of that line ever.
It's working! Where's my head? How do we use these things?
That's not Optimus Prime.
Oh, look at wheels! I need wheels! Woo!
This is the Joss Whedon.
Guys, that's not good.
This is that Joss Whedon quippiness humor of laughing and goofing around, finding as you go along type of thing. And, there's a time and place for that, but once again, it seems like this has become a thing where they're applying the one-size-fits-all method to all these properties. It further solidifies what I said. I feel like this story was written, and they just add the Transformers to it for the characters to fill up the gaps.
Well, you can blame Joss Whedon and all of his ADHD fans, angsty fans that decided, hey, we're going to just copy him to be writers in Hollywood. And
I don't blame him. Even I blame the people who responded to. I get what you're saying, Script, but I blame the people who decided to rip them off. I blame them because they could say, hey, how do we learn from this, even if they like it, and how do we maybe add to it, make it better, make it sharper, smarter, funnier, whatever the you want to add to it. But how could they put their own spin on it? But they do the exact same thing rather than try to improve upon it. That's what I hate is how they responded to it. It's kind of like when people say, well, it's the MCU's fault for a lot of things. And I don't really feel like the MCU's fault. It's everyone responding to what the MCU did and saying, we got to do that too. I don't blame the trendsetters. They may, even if it's a bad trend, I blame the people who copy the trend.
Yeah, well, you also have to blame the studio system that pays for the copies of the trend. Like that's the other part. Too.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm down for that too.
No, because again, it's twofold, right? If people are saying, you know what, I really want, I want Joss Whedon, but I don't want to pay for Joss Whedon. Find me a writer that can write like Joss Whedon. It's like, okay, that's what you get. And then when it
Plug
makes
it into
money,
the
it
AI.
just snowballs over
Right.
and over and over again. And the sad part is that Joss Whedon is actually the worst at making the quip stuff because the master of it was Paul Dini, and he knew how to do it once in a while. He didn't do it all the time. He knew
Chat
exactly.
GPT, please write me a script in the style of Joss Whedon.
No,
I come from a planet where we're all robots.
See, Nicolas Cage would actually save it just for his voice.
Right. At least it would be amusing.
Oh yeah, it would be amusing.
Autobots!
Nicolas Cage and Christopher Walken. Bring Christopher Walken to be Megatron.
I'd watch
I
that.
have had enough of all you goody two shoes.
Wow.
I'm gonna end this here and now. Oh, good. Dirty bastards. Wow. I don't have anything else to say.
Starscream, you fool, but say it like Christopher Walken.
Starscream, you fool.
Wow.
You fool. Bumblebee.
Anyway, enough of that nonsense. Let's get back to the stupid fucking trailer. The trailer, not the trailer.
We've got these powers for a reason. Let's use them.
We stand here together as one.
Fighters of the tentacle form.
Whoa! I got a battle mask! It appeared with this guy! Knife hands? I have knife hands!
I can see that. These are not the bad guys.
Why did you cut the door?
No, it was already like that. Right?
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
It was. Yeah, it was already like. Yeah, that's right.
Boy.
That
Well,
was
that's,
tougher to get through the second
something.
time than
Right,
it was
that
the first
was-
time. Wow.
At least
The
we've seen
first
that
time you're
movie
just
now.
like a train wreck. You're like, what? What is it? You're like, is this a punk? Like, no way.
That was
Oh my god.
I feel dirty and I feel almost sad at the same time, especially since I've been getting into this property in the last year and I've really come to love particularly outside of Optimus, the villain of Soundwave. And now I just look at this, I'm like, wow, you are awful. It's I'm so glad there's a great Transformers comic out right now, and that helps ease the pain a little because it really is great. It's awesome, and if people out there want something from Transformers that's recent and great, go read the current Image Comics run of Transformers. It's 7 issues in, and it rules.
Maybe they should have just done that.
No, then they would actually have to pay a guy who's actually good, and they don't want to pay a guy who actually likes the Transformers because nowadays liking the material is considered a big no.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, CC?
No, I was saying, Matt, there's source material they could use to make a good movie, and it's current.
There's a whole series at one point. 3 or 4. Yeah, I don't need an origin story for the fucking Transformers. What the? I definitely didn't need this
idea. I'm not even opposed to the idea.
No, this is basically what they did to the Ninja
story.
Turtles, though. You guys are right. Now that I
need
think
this.
about it,
We don't need
Total
this as
Ninja
the
Turtles.
movie.
Yeah.
This could have been the. Let's just put it this way: restart say we're going to do a Dune Transformers animated universe, if they really were to keep these characters in character, this is the type of story you could have released as a prequel, as a comic. That's what you could have done. This could have been the prequel story and like the prelude story before the actual story. This is what that looks like. It looks like a prelude story before the actual thing. Once again, not a bad thing either. That should have just been the thing you released to coincide with the movie. But instead, this is the actual movie.
And how do you not get Danny DeVito to play Bumblebee? I mean, come on.
Dude, I would love if that happened.
Shorten them yellow. Kind of look like a taxi. I knew the old guy'd get it. Thank you.
Yeah, I love it.
Oh, yes. Save your time and money, folks. There's the 80s cartoons.
Louis De Palma.
The 80s movie. There's the current comics. There's some of the older Marvel comics. There's an endless bevy of toys. You're good. You can get your Transformers fix. If there's something out there that you haven't seen, read, or watched, go seek that out instead, and we'll be better off.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see what you guys are talking about in the chat. Armchair Troop. That's a new one. I don't recognize that one. Welcome to the program if you're new.
Yeah, hello.
Sends in a Canadian $10. We love our Canadians around here. Says Transformers 1 is proof once again that Hollywood won't take animation seriously compared to what comes out of Japan. Does everything need to have a comedic tone? Well, which is sad is because doesn't this originate from Japan anyway? Transformers technically?
Well, they hired artists from Japan to do it.
Oh, the original toys and stuff, didn't they come out in Japan
Yeah, they
first?
were Japanese.
Yeah.
Oh, the toys, yeah. They were
The original concept and all that stuff.
Rebranded
Yeah.
and everything, yeah.
Well, yeah, they did the Power Ranger thing to them, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, no, I don't remember once in a while you'd have some camaraderie between certain characters, but I don't ever. Transformers has never really had this comedic tone to it. And that's one of the things I know people really hated about the Michael Bay ones is when you had like, the goofy characters in there doing all the, yeah. Like the two in the, one was it? We're even talking about the one robot's balls and shit in the one.
The second one, yeah. One of the Destructicons.
Yeah, you had those two black comedian guys or whatever doing the voices. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, once again,
Well,
that's
Alex
for Beavis
Kurtzman,
and
man.
Butthead. I'd leave that to the Beavis and
Fucking Alex
Butthead.
Kurtzman, yeah.
Alex Klutzman.
Oh, that explains a
There's your
whole
answer.
lot.
Roberto Orci and Alex Kurtzman wrote those first two Transformers movies.
And then it says Transformers had standards. I'm surprised that the new comic has it. The movie looks like dumb fun, maybe more than dumb than fun, and I might see it. Well, that's the sad part is like I'm not opposed to this movie. I don't think that the jokes are horrible. They just don't fucking fit Transformer. Like, in what universe did you go? You know what we need? A comedy Transformers.
Yeah.
Like I could see why. Look, Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem makes sense somewhat on paper.
Mm-hmm.
In actuality, it just didn't work because you had fucking Seth Rogen and other people who clearly didn't know what the hell they were doing with these characters. Now, if you actually had somebody who understood Ninja Turtles take like the piss out of Ninja Turtles and do kind of a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek humor, kind of thing with that, it could have worked.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't understand the characters at all, and they don't understand what makes the Ninja Turtles what they are. And it's the same thing here. This does not work with it. Jive with it. It's like trying to mix chocolate with fucking fish or something. You know what I mean? Just doesn't work. Jason, and I'm sure somebody's gonna say, well, there is this kind of fish that they actually put chocolate glaze on or some shit. And I'll be like, okay, but still. Anyway, Jason Webster says Transformers Moon by Joss Wheatgerger. Thank you for the Australian too, Jason. I know you sent a couple others. We're gonna get around to those again in a moment. And then Sergeant Point Blank sings "Dare to Be Stupid." No shit.
It's from the original.
Love that song.
They took it literally and they wanted to be stupid.
I love that album. Great album.
From the Junk Planet scene, I think, in
Right.
Transformers movie, right? Yeah.
They should have just re-released the fucking Transformer movie in theater.
Oh, they sang that in one of the movies?
It's from Dare to Be Stupid's from the
That's Al
Transformer movie.
Yankovic song.
Yep.
Yep.
It's on the soundtrack. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Yeah. It is. Totally is. Yeah. It's in the fucking movie. It's really there. Yeah. Jason Webster sends in 5 Australian and says Doom Part 2 will cross 700 million this weekend, and Godzilla X Kong should start next week with a global haul of about 484.1 million. Yeah, I think those that's good money for Warner Brothers and Legendary there. They're sitting pretty right now.
Yep.
And then you got Jason Webster, who also gets us to our next topic. Quentin Tarantino pulled out of the movie, Critic. And luckily she didn't get pregnant.
That's how you do it.
Yeah.
And Martin Scorsese wants Leonardo DiCaprio for the role of Frank Sinatra in his biopic. Isn't he a little old? Well, we'll get to that here.
DiCaprio too old for Frank Sinatra? I don't know.
Depending on what era.
60 for 30 years?
I was gonna say, yeah, it's a good point. Which era? He doesn't he have blue eyes too? So yeah, I think he might work all right.
Yeah.
No, I mean Leo, but yeah.
Leo? Yeah, they'll give him contacts if they're not.
Yeah, it's true. But yeah, so let's get on the Tarantino thing. So this kind of took everybody by surprise. For those who actually were anticipating it, like big, huge Tarantino fans like myself, and I think Bryant was in the chat earlier and stuff like that. And as Jason here is clearly probably a Tarantino fan. Yeah, he just up and decided that the Critic is no longer going to be his final film, and even Brad Pitt had been in talks to start reprise his role from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So this kind of came as a shock to people, but let's see what he had to say, I guess, about it. Because he talked about this on a podcast, I guess. Let's see. Do they have the quote here in this one? Of course they don't.
Remember the word
old ass
Control F to find it.
Not exactly, but okay, I'll paraphrase. But basically, he said on this podcast that I don't remember if it was his or somebody else's, because he does have his own podcast. I haven't got to it yet, so I don't know for sure which one. But basically, he said, from my memory of the quote, was that it was something he was working on, but he realized this was not the movie he wanted to make as his last movie. So either he got inspired by something else, or it just got so far in the writing process, because I think he's done a few drafts of it, that it just wasn't clicking with him. So he's decided he's going to abandon this and do something else. He hasn't said what yet, so we don't know that. But I don't think this is necessarily the end of the road for this movie, because I know some people are like, well, I want to still know what it was or whatever. I think he's going to end up releasing it as a book. Now, he hasn't said anything that I know of to that effect, but I wouldn't be surprised if he does. And then he just does something else for a final film. But let's get your guys' response. Clobby, I don't know if you're that much of a Tarantino fan. I can't recall, but
I like some of his stuff, but I didn't see any of the story. I just first time hearing about it, so I don't know much. I'll pass it on to someone who knows a lot more than me about what's going on.
Well, Script, you may have something to say about it, I suppose, especially from the writer aspect.
I would say Tarantino holding himself to that 10-film rule that he writes directs is retarded.
I think so too.
It's he can decide when he wants to retire anytime he wants. He doesn't need to worry about this arbitrary numerical value of the classic directors and their limited filmography. If he's got the ideas, you do it. I mean, all those other directors, if they had the ideas, they would do them. Like nothing was stopping them from that. So when it comes to the Critic, if he feels that that he couldn't execute the concept well enough, then good on him for saying, no, I'm not. It's not where it needs to be. I'm gonna put it aside and I'm gonna focus on something else that I've got more passion in. I'm all for that.
Well, there's one other thing he could do, because here's what I think because he has said, he has kind of hedged the whole 10 movie thing. And this was a couple years back when he had first had his kid. I can't remember if he has more than one. But he basically said, I got young one. I think at the time he only had one. He's like, I got a young one now. Basically, I want to spend more time at home as a dad and do a lot more writing, but I don't necessarily want to direct movies. So he talked about writing more books and possibly working in TV a little bit more. So who's to say he won't turn around and turn this into a mini series for Netflix or something like that? That's another thing I could see him doing too. So I've seen him or heard him say things that make me think he might tiptoe around this last movie thing And Scorsese and a few other guys have been kind of acting like it's the end of cinema. So I wonder if he's also thinking, yeah, I'm going to just do a bunch of television stuff now.
I think they're acting like that because they know when they die, from their perspective, it'll be the end of cinema.
Yeah, they're not wrong.
And they're not necessarily wrong because we have a generational gap right now.
Yeah, and I mean, who's to say he won't come back on this too? Because Read by Nature is correct. This is
Yeah.
not the first time Tarantino's done this.
Well, the only
Is
reason
he-
Hateful Eight got made is because he did a live stage read that convinced him to actually do it.
Well, I was going to tell the short version of the story, and that was that I think it was one of Burt Reynolds' agents or something like that had leaked it out. So it got all over. And he was so pissed and upset that he's like, fuck it, I'm just not going to make the movie now. And like a script said, so after some pressure, they had gotten together and done a stage reading of it, and he had such a good time with it. It got his juices flowing again on the movie. He's like, you know what, fuck it, and he, still did it. So you never know, he might do that, but I wouldn't be so sure that this is a dead project yet. If he's put a lot of work into it, Tarantino does what Tarantino does because Tarantino is Tarantino. So, we'll have to wait and see. Anybody else got anything to say on this part of it?
I just think this whole last movie thing is ridiculous.
Yeah, me too.
I wouldn't bet a dime on it. I don't know how big his ego is to get around it, but one way or the other, he's gonna do something.
We're not alone in this feeling, right? Because they even have this. This was an accompanying article. Quentin Tarantino's 10-movie retirement plan has some flaws, clearly.
Yeah, no shit.
It's a dumb plan. I mean, I understand the general policy. He's saying he doesn't want to be old and make these movies that are irrelevant, and I respect that. But how does he know? I mean, he doesn't look like he's a million years old now. He can churn out a few decent movies. He's just being annoying now with that. I mean, he's very talented. He can make a few movies, I'm sure.
Well, and honestly, I've made a prediction. I've said that once his kids get into high school and they don't have time for their dad anymore, guess what he's going to do?
Yeah,
he's going to get the directing bug again.
Think he's pulling a Brett Favre?
Well, what director doesn't like anything more than doing a big comeback film, right?
Yeah.
So he's almost setting himself up for something like that. And I mean, and he does that sometimes. He'll pull a couple years in between his films here and there, like
his kids
Michael
are very
Jackson
young, though, I think.
the albums. They are now, but I mean, that's what I'm saying. In about 4, 5, 6 years, they're not going to be young anymore, Price. They're going to be teenagers and stuff. Because I think his kid was already 4 when I was talking about the interview I was talking about before, and that was a couple of years ago now, when he was first talking about this whole stupid 10 movie.
Maybe you're
thing.
right. Maybe you're right.
I get the argument that a lot of artists fade as they get older, and they just kind of start resting on their classics. See that in music, but you also see it in movies. But I mean, there are also artists who are fantastic throughout their entire career. I mean, like, look at everything that Clint Eastwood's done and is still doing. There are exceptions. I mean, like, have a little self-confidence, dude. Quentin Tarantino.
Tarantino could make movies all day long.
He's one of the greatest of all time. He will not. He's not likely going to fade. Now, I'm like, don't force it, right? But it's like, well, yeah, if you want to set the critic aside for a little bit, fine. But when it's ready, it's ready. Don't just say you're gonna stop.
Or I'll put it
making
out
movies.
there. Don't retire till you've won the damn Oscar, dude. You know you earn it. You've earned this shit already. They just need to give it to you already. I don't know what the hell they're waiting for.
Yeah.
Oh man, I was so pissed every time he's lost. The one that pissed me off the most, and you guys were probably a part of this. I know Script, I think, was around then. It's when fucking Parasite beat Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I'm like, what the fuck? It's like, first of all, that shouldn't even be in the main category. It should be in the foreign film category, where it will win, and rightfully so. Where Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was clearly the best picture of the year, probably the best one of the decade so fucking far.
Might be his best picture.
Oh, I know. It's every time I watch it, I love it more and more. It's one of those.
It is his most mature picture, at the very least, and like the evolution I got from that movie and just his approach and his screenwriting makes me want to see a lot more than just one more movie, because he's he is evolving, right? He's moving in a whole new direction. I want to see more of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of people want to see Kill Bill 3 as well. He's dropped hints from time to time. I'm sure he will. Maybe that will be his last movie. We don't know. I mean, it would make sense, but
yeah. Well, Sydney Sweeney's in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, so
yeah,
it
was a good movie.
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch it right now. No, his worst movie is friggin' Death Proof.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, that's still decent.
But he made that as a joke.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. And that's more of a lark or whatever you want to call it. Exactly. Script. Like that. It wasn't even him being serious.
No, it's him and Kurt Russell saying, let's have some fun and talk about stunt driving and stunt guys and throw it into a film with some weird, creepy cliches and like the old B movie, C movie drive-throughs.
Like a duel kind of thing. Yeah.
Drive-ins. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, but let's see what else you guys have to say here. The biopic thing with Frank Sinatra, I know very little about that right now. I know this is something Scorsese's talked about for a while. In fact, I think this was something he brought up about 20 years ago when he first started working with Leo. So I think he's had this kind of in his pocket for a while. And go ahead, whoever's going to talk. I heard a breath.
I had nothing.
No,
So
I mean,
somebody was going to say something. I thought.
No, the only thing I can think of is I think Scorsese needs to find someone other than DiCaprio to work with again.
Unless DiCaprio's not playing Frank. That's what I was kind of wondering too, is if he's playing somebody Frank adjacent in the film and Frank will be played by whoever he picks. Because that's another kind of more of a recent biopic thing, is to do a biopic from some other angle. Like the Elvis one was more about, the Colonel than it was really about Elvis at the end of the day, for instance.
Yeah, that's a good example. I'm just kind of recalling Scorsese's latest works with Leonardo DiCaprio, and I'm thinking they're not as fun films as what Scorsese did with a more different set of cast members earlier in his career. I think that even though they might like each other, I don't think they have the magic that Scorsese was able to have prior to starting to work with DiCaprio.
But I think he's supposed to be making his Jesus movie before he does that anyway.
There's also another problem that nobody ever wants to talk about.
What's that?
Leonardo DiCaprio, he's an okay actor. He's even a good actor. But I've always felt like people want to say that he's better than he is. If you give him the right director and the right role, I think he can deliver a pretty good performance. But a lot of it has been good management. He was on this kind of wave when he was young. He's always built this kind of image for himself that he picks the right roles. He picks them sparingly. But when you really think about it, I still think that there's a little bit, not that he's not a good actor, but people make him out to be just a little bit better than he is.
I agree with you. Like, he has a range, right? He can play different roles, but he can never convince you that he's not Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Especially in What's Eating Gilbert Grape.
Yeah,
no one remembers that he played the kid with the mental disability.
Mental thing, yeah. I think his best role was maybe in Titanic because he didn't know how to act very well then, and he just did whatever.
I disagree with that highly, but yeah.
Yeah, he's done better roles since. I think Once Upon a Time in America was
okay. Under Tarantino, Once Upon a Time, and also
God, that was his best performance. Yeah,
Django Unchained. Sorry, fine.
He's good in that too.
Django Unchained.
You're missing two other ones because here's the thing.
The Departed, he was good.
I was just gonna say, yep, because I fucking hated him for years. Hated him. And then he started working with Scorsese. I'm like, why does he got to work with all my favorite fucking directors? Spielberg, Scorsese, because he's also good in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So between, Catch Me If You Can,
Departed is what I meant with that comment too, though, is like Jack Nicholson can convince you that he's not Jack Nicholson.
Well, The Departed is just a perfect fucking movie. Okay, I just watched it the other day. It's one of those movies that I can like. This that's one of the reasons I love Scorsese.
That Departed would be on there.
And and I found out more about it because Scorsese actually did a brand new interview for this, and this is where it came out that for those who heard, he recently said this is where it came from that somebody at Warner Brothers wanted a sequel. Well, the whole story's on the making of and the little interview thing here that they added to the 4K. He said that Alan Horn called him, and this was at early on stage of the movie, and said, "Can you at least let one of the kids live in case we want to make a sequel?" And he's like, "Fuck you, I'm out." And he said he didn't hear anything from the studio for a few weeks. And then all of a sudden he got a phone call saying, "We can work this out."
Yeah, leave it to Alan Horn, man.
Yep. So it was Alan fucking Horn who almost fucked up The Departed. But yeah, so like that was cool. And it's just like he was just talking about how, and this is where I got the whole end of cinema, because he was talking about how that was like the start of the end of his relationship with the studio system and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, I think he's getting to the point where he's ready to make his last few movies, but that movie's just fucking amazing. And he's actually really good in it. And he even says in that, because being that it's a remake of Infernal Affairs, I mean, Scorsese's kind of just putting his own spin on the idea, more or less, using a little bit of Whitey Bulger, that whole thing with the FBI and, having a mole inside the FBI and, this whole like cat and mouse game between two different moles kind of thing. And he said that Leo brought a lot of his character to the story. Like, so a lot of that was Leo's ideas, I guess, and the whole, the way the character progressed and everything like that. So, and how he was presented in the film. So
And
I got to give him
also
some credit.
his contract stipulation to nail the female lead at that time. Like, that was literally a thing. In every movie, Leonardo DiCaprio has to have a love scene with the female
It
lead.
works for the movie, though.
No, yeah, they made it work because they're good
It
writers.
is. Oh, God, that fucking movie is so great.
Does he really have a clause like that?
He did for a very long time. I don't know if that still holds up now that he's older.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm sure they had a lot of that, especially in the days of the action film stars who had certain clauses in there.
Yeah, because he didn't have a love scene in Django Unchained, and he definitely didn't have one in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So
you know why? Because once you're dealing with Tarantino, you're not going to tell him he has to put a love scene. Like in that case, I think he knows that it's a gift that he could be in this movie. It's going to be great for his career, and he better just shut up. That's
well, and
why
it works for the character too.
Right.
That's why. Because a lot of what Leo's doing in that movie, like that whole spaz out he did in Once Upon a Time, I guess that was all improvised.
I'm just going to assume that Leonardo DiCaprio does not need that clause to bang the chicks on set anyways.
Not really.
Actually, he kind of does.
It's just an image thing. I
Don't
guess.
like him.
Well, he's always dating women. He just trades them in every few years. Remember?
Yeah, he never dates anyone over the age of 26. Yeah. So yeah, like again, I remember vividly in the 90s, all the girls were dreamy over Leonardo DiCaprio, and then as I started learning more about Hollywood as I was working out there, I realized, oh wow, all the women in Hollywood, they respect him as an actor, but they don't really want to work with him, and they don't like him, and they think he's a jerk.
Which is weird that you would think, because he would have women usually just throwing themselves at him. But anyway,
he did. He had women that were not actors throwing themselves at him, models.
Exactly.
And other
Why
people.
would he want actors when he can just get models and other people? Then fuck it. Yeah. But yeah, I love him in Wolf of Wall Street too. That's it. Well, Scorsese's a god. So I mean, like if you had to make me like if you put a gun to my head and said who's better, Scorsese or Tarantino, I'd just say shoot me now.
Well,
that's what I don't want to get.
Mostly a director. He doesn't do a whole lot of the writing side of things. So you've got.
True. That's a good point. That's a very good point, Script. But he knows how to find a story and make it his own.
Oh yeah, right? He does. He's a better. I would say Scorsese is a better storyteller, but Tarantino is a better story writer.
Well, yes, but they both have that thing, and that's the thing that I love, because I have this rule that if you don't pull me in the first 15, 20 minutes of a movie, chances are I'm going to shut it off. Scorsese and Tarantino know how to pull you in the first 2 minutes of a movie.
Well, the brilliance part with Scorsese with the part is that he pulls you in so quickly. By the time you get to the opening credits, it's like 15 minutes later.
It is. You're right. 100% correct. Because you have that whole opening monologue by Jack Nicholson, basically, and you don't realize it till you get to that point. You're right, Script. That whole monologue is like almost just 15 minutes of Jack Nicholson just talking, but it's just so engrossing, right? He's talking about how we used to have, the church. They used to say that just means we had each other, doing the whole accent and everything. Like I love that whole fucking thing. It's just great, and But anyway, that being said, let's get on to a not so great director. Nikki D says if Zack Snyder was hired to write and direct a live action He-Man film, would the final product look like? Would the tone and characters change? Absolutely, positively, it would look like.
It would be 1,000 times more violent. There would be a sexual assault scene involved with Tila or
in slow motion.
And there'd be a lot of slow motion, and you'd only get 3 minutes of stories in 2.5 hours.
And then there would be a director's cut which is another 2 to 3 hours, and you'll find out that he has 4 or 5 sequels attached to it, and that's when the story really gets started.
And out of all of those sequels, you'll be lucky if you have a half hour of actual story.
And the camera will shake a lot, and he'll do it in 4:3.
And all the characters will be sad and depressed. They'll give bad advice, and they'll all be sad and depressed out of their mind, and they're supposed to act like they're supposed to be cinema or some sophisticated storytelling because they gotta pretend like there's some sophisticated thing that has class or some shit.
Oh yeah, and King Randor will actually break Skeletor's neck.
Oh yeah,
because He-Man can't do that. He's too busy battling Hordak. Oh yeah, and then when he meets She-Ra, those two hook up because Zack Snyder doesn't realize that they're twins.
Yeah. Yeah, and there will be no color to it too. There's a colorful array of characters, whether it's Battle Cat or Orko, obviously Skeletor, She-Ra,
Many
Adam,
faces will have way more than just his many faces.
Narnia, the world Narnia, everything about it will be colorless. Everything will have like a dark blue, navy blue, black color palette to it, with Hans Zimmer soundtrack, overblown every 30 seconds.
Oh yeah, and the reason Randor breaks Skeletor's neck is because Skeletor had an affair with his wife, and Adam is really the son of Skeletor.
Yeah, you're probably right. Like, it would be so stupid, and it was the look. Okay, so to answer the look, it would look like some pretentious 12-year-old wants it to look, basically like the Transformers look now.
Very
After the Bayformers.
Yeah.
Yeah, all very dark, very gray, very like overly designed. A lot like the early 2000s series, but worse, right? Because that's the one and only complaint I have with the 2000s He-Man series is that they over-designed it, right? Like they went a little overkill, so that's what's great about He-Man is the simplicity of it, right? I mean, look at this great little character here. I mean, I got this at the store the other day. I mean, just that simple, that's what I fell in love with, was that simple color scheme. And that's why I loved Superman as a little kid, is I loved the colors together, right? Because I loved those bright colors, and that just attracted my eyes. So then from there, it was the progression of, okay, I'm going to see what this is all about. I'm interested in this thing because it looks cool. And then Skeletor, even more so, because he's the contrast of that, in a sense that, yeah, he's still bright, but he's also the darker colors, the purple, the blue, and he's got that skull face, which to a kid is like, oh, looks dangerous and cool and gnarly. So, that's what you want. You don't need to go over fucking complicated with it, right? You get too complicated and then you start getting just too much. That's another thing I didn't like about Dark Knight, not to shift gears here, but like Batman's best too when he's a little bit more simple. Sure, he has a bunch of gadgets in his belt, but his whole costume shouldn't be like a fucking tactical gear thing like it was in Dark Knight. Like, that thing just kind of bothered me.
He's not getting that in and out of that thing very quickly. Like,
it'd be very mopey, this movie, that when instead of yelling, I have the power, he'd be like, he wouldn't even yell anything. He would just hold the sword up. And
it'd be, why do I have the power? And then
the transformation would be 13 minutes.
It's too long. Yeah, but it's too cornball for him to say have a slogan. You can't have a slogan. That's not edgy. So he's got to have this look on his face and holding the sword would also be too cornball. He'll stab it into the ground and with both hands on it, just I don't know. Blood will boil up from the ground, and he will get his powers with blood dripping all over him or something.
No, and I'm glad Max brought this up, because Ninja Turtles and He-Man were designed in the same way. They were designed with people who actually understood advertising in mind. And this is something I learned when I was in school, is certain color combinations and how they catch the eye. And that made sense to me because, like I said, as a kid, I would catch Superman, right? Like, you see that blue suit, the red cape, and the big ass, and, it just catches you. You're like, whoa. Like, that attracts you as a young kid. Like, that is cool. So like, same thing with the Ninja Turtles. When I saw it as a kid, I'm like, that looks cool. Same thing with the Ghostbusters and their visage that they have with the jumpsuits and the backpacks and all that kind of, like, certain things evoke. Even Batman, that's why he's got the coolest looking costume of all, right? So there you go. Right. I mean, even when the 89 Batman, that at that time, that was about as far as you could probably take it and still be kind of cool. And then they should have just stopped there. Shouldn't have went too much farther than that, I don't think. Because then altering it from the original is just too much. But anyway,
Pretty much.
that
I mean,
being
but
said,
one thing was interesting is that Lou Schreiner was very adamant that the cartoon they do is not fully a commercial for the toys.
that too, there was that separation. I did say
Lessons and
big
all
ass
that stuff.
probably.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep, Scheimer was very
What I learned
adamant
today
about that.
was that Oracle shouldn't stick his finger in holes that he doesn't know where they go.
Oh, oh. Woo.
Wah, wah. And then we got Waltman who says, I'm surprised Google fired employees for once. Oh, did they? I didn't hear about this. Interesting. Jason Webster says, imagine Quentin Tarantino take on a remake or a sequel of Flash Gordon. I could get behind that. Yeah. He'd make it feel like it was made in the 70s, though, so I don't know what the point would be. It'd be a lot like the one we got now. He'd probably even use the Queen music.
Might not.
It might not, yeah. Sergeant Point Blank says, Age of Innocence will be always be my favorite Scorsese. That's one of the few I haven't seen yet. I do need to watch that. I think I got it. Jason Webster says, Zack Snyder's Master of the Universe 6-hour director's cut. No shit. 6 films, not just a 6-hour director's cut.
Yeah.
6 6-hour films.
Remember, that's Master of the Universe Part 1.
Yeah.
6-hour director cut.
That's what I'm saying. All 6 of them are 6 parts of 6-hour film. Most of it's just slow-mo fucking men's chests and shit like that. All right. What else did we have here? I think that was everything. Did we get through everything?
Yeah.
Oh, you guys wanted to talk a little bit of Doctor Who, didn't you, Price? Did anybody want to talk about that? Go ahead if you want to. What's going on with that?
I'll listen.
I mean, I'll just quickly say, I'll sum it up that there have been a lot of cringe kind of advertisements. It seems like Disney is trying to do some kind of blitz, like a marketing blitz, to hype up this show. But anytime they release something, it's even worse. It's more cringy than the previous thing you saw. And nothing that they're doing, in my opinion, is actually connecting with fans. It's kind of embarrassing. That's the best way for me to put it.
Yes.
But I don't know if anybody has seen this. Am I the only one that's seen it?
What, the Gatwa
The shooty twerky thing?
Yeah, they quote him like in an interview. Oh, I
Yes.
like twerking, and then they have him this kind of dress, and he's walking around, and I don't know. I guess it's a kilt or whatever it is. It looks like he's running around in a dress. I don't know what to tell you.
He's like a kill a
Shooty
monster
Gatwa
by
in a
twerking.
dress is going to twerk in the future episode. It's going to happen.
He said he
Yeah,
could
this is
kill a
really-
monster by twerking or something. That's a good guys.
And then you know how in Rings of Power they had these kind of little videos where they looked like the Salon Selective or whatever those things are, like the joke on FNT. Then they had a video similar with him that he's next to a clock and he's kind of winking at you and he's walking around in a dress or whatever it is. I don't know. I don't know why they think this is going to draw in longtime fans. It looks absolutely awful and cringy, and I think it's going to be a huge failure for Disney.
Yeah, they don't care either. They don't care about longtime fans because fans have just we've all stopped.
They've all stopped. I don't even know if Disney at this point, it feels like this is just a Hail Mary pass. They're doing just their usual marketing thing. Maybe a few weird activists with strange hashtags in their bio will watch it and several pronouns. Maybe they'll watch it. I don't know who else is going to want to watch this thing.
No longtime fan. Well, not many longtime fans.
Not
will.
many
I mean,
longtime
obviously.
fans. It's
No.
not only cringe, it's embarrassing cringe. It really looks bad.
It's almost as if he said he's such good friends with Chris Chibnall. He said, I know people have really given your era a hard time because it was really horrible, but don't worry, I'll out horrible it for you.
It's a hold my beer. It's a hold my beer
is.
situation.
And I still don't know if you can be worse than the Jody era, but I think you can, and he's about to prove it.
He is giving that era a run for its money with this
He
thing,
is.
and it's so
And
disappointing.
that was bad.
Because this guy Russell T Davies back in the day, he was brilliant. So the fact that he's become the most activist,
Yeah.
the most loser, and this is what he's doing is just such a bad sign.
He did some activism in the old. I mean, I liked a lot of what he did, but I had a lot of qualms with two. But for the most part, he resurrected the show and had he gave it extended life and a nice other than that 16-year hiatus, it lasted for the show was healthy for 50 years, and then after 50 years, it was for me over. But
no, I mean, I've done videos about this, and I actually dug into kind of an investigative thing. I did an investigation, and basically Russell T Davies it's not that he didn't want to do this kind of agenda peddling back in the day, but
Right.
back in the day, the fact that you were maybe a certain way or lived a certain lifestyle didn't mean you can just walk into a franchise and say, well, now I want to see myself reflected in the material, and the source material will be all about me, me, me. You couldn't do that back in the day. He actually had to prove himself and do the work. This time when they brought him back, he's like, well, I've won a lot of awards. I'm going to go do the Doctor Who that I've always wanted to do. That's about my identity or whatever it is. And that's what we're looking at now. And he's like, I don't even want it to be science fiction. Let's make it more. What did he say? Wanted to be fantasy. You want there to be people to sing.
That's
it's
right.
like, dude, this thing's been around for several decades. You better do whatever it is. And I don't know who he's appealing to. These kind of Gen Z people, they're not going to buy into this thing. He can put that guy in as many dresses as he wants. It's not going to work.
Agreed. It'll have Disney money behind it. It'll keep it floating, but fans won't like it, and it's not going to create any big new fans.
I don't think so. It's going to be like all those other D+ shows. It's going to be all the same crap over and over again.
Agreed. He's horrible. And like you said, it's not that he didn't want to do that before, but he did. You know, look, he when he started, it was 2005. It was a little bit different times. He came off from a show called Queer as Folk that he created, and that was about agenda. But he didn't do it with Doctor Who for a while because he was a fan originally. But he
also
it sometime.
Also, it just goes to show you how this whole industry has changed. We were talking about it before with the casting and the diversity casting. Here, people actually, somebody who was kind of an LGB person got to be showrunner of Doctor Who. He did a great job. And instead of going this direction of kind of equality and really people expressing themselves and all that and doing their job, now it's about, oh, I have this preference, so now I have to put it in the show. Why? Why do you have to put it in the show? It has nothing to do with you. It's not your show. You didn't create it. You're just an asshole, and there's no reason to put that in there because it's not that kind of show. If you want to create a show called the Traveling LGB Person, then do it. But if that's not what you're in charge of, then don't do that. Sorry, I'm just annoyed.
I understand. No, I mean, I am too, because I've been a fan of it for 40-something years and love it. And to have it destroyed like this now, I've decided as a fan, cut my head cannon off, so to speak, or just cut my head off because he did as a fan at 50 years. So after Time of the Doctor, I don't even consider anything, even the Moffat era with Capaldi, an actor I liked, but I didn't like the stories. I've decided that the entity known as the Doctor died at the end of that. And that's just
that was the last era with Capaldi that you could somehow watch it a bit. But honestly, once they started that his assistant was more of a rainbow girl, they started already started shoveling that stuff in there then. But you kind of he was a good actor and the writing wasn't good, and you just said, well, you kind of like this actor, so you're going to go with it, even though you already feel that weird things are going on. Yeah. And then that was it. His last episode is the last episode of this series.
Yeah, for me, it was the last, like I said, Time of the Doctor, when Matt Smith's last one, because he was at the end of his regenerations. I love Peter Capaldi. Peter Capaldi's an actor, but to me, he never had any good stories worthy of him. And I think it's a shame because he was so good in the role. It's just they wrote him terribly, in my opinion. So I've just decided since they were going to ruin the character like that or ruin the show like that, the last 10 years have been meaningless for me, not really Doctor Who. That's just a personal thing, of course.
Like I said, I agree with you, but I'll still give Capaldi that's the final episode is his final episode, even though I agree those especially those last 2 years with Capaldi were really, really on shaky ground with a lot of nonsense creeping up on us. But I think that I'm willing, just because I thought he was a good actor and he gave so much of himself, I'm willing to let it end with his last episode, but not a minute later. Once Jodie arrives, it's not Doctor Who anymore.
That episode really took a dump on the show, though. I mean, it was really that if you go back and watch that, when I finally went back and watched it, it was so bad and so insulting that Moffat was really responsible.
It's hard for me to argue with you. There was a lot of crap there in that Capaldi era. Like I struggle with that one because I think that he's a good actor and I like what he was trying to do, but the writing there was abysmal. So I don't know. I really have a strange feeling about it, but I still accept him, even though I respect your position on it as well.
I understand. I know we're both in the same boat as fans. We've had it ruined for us.
Totally.
I think I only have one thing to say to this.
Yes.
I gaze at my reflection, longing for something more, dreaming about the day I walk through that magic door. Denim jacket, leather boots, but my heart's feeling blue. I'm a man on the outside, but inside I'm someone new. I see them strut their stuff, so confident and free. They wear their pretty dresses and they smile at me. Oh, how I wish I could feel the fabric on my skin, to walk a mile in high heels with grace and with a grin. I wanna be fancy in my shoes, break these chains, leave behind these blues. Man on the surface, but it's not my truth. In my heart, I'm a lady and I'm ready to choose. That's what's up. I wanna make it real. Gonna chop it off and get the whole deal. Gonna write my senator and Uncle Sam, tell them just how brave and stunning I am.
That's all I have to say to that.
It was good.
Yes, nice.
You can see the full version now on Midnight Edge After Dark. There you go.
Nice.
All right, now that we've lost our entire audience.
No, I think they liked it.
No, we lost a bunch of people.
They'll be back. they know how this rodeo goes.
It's
They'll
the
be
exit
back.
strategy.
But in that, let's wrap this up here. We got one more question from Action Com, who asks, has anyone seen HBO's Sick and Civil War? It's available on YouTube. I have not yet. I remember, or I think maybe I saw it maybe when it first came out. It was years ago. I do remember it's like a comedy film about like a civil war. Has anybody here on the panel seen it?
Negative.
Mm-mm.
This was asked to us yesterday by ActionCom on the morning show. So
On the morning show, yeah.
the answer has not changed. I'm sorry.
Not changed yet. One of these days I'll get around to it. I'll hope to. It was always one of those HBO movies I had on my list that, yeah, I'll probably check that one out eventually. So I end up liking most ones I do see. But yeah. All right. Well, now that we're losing everybody, CC, anything you want to plug real quick?
Tomorrow night is Friday. That means karaoke night. We will be singing karaoke sometime late in the evening, nighttime, with usually with Tom, Price of Reason, and a dragon. Four of us.
That's more than a promise. It's a threat.
Yeah, I don't know. It's it's a threatening show.
Maybe I'll sing, I want to be fancy in my shoes.
Well, I'm looking forward to it.
These chains. Yeah, no. What do you got coming up, Nick?
Let's see. I posted a video earlier today. Do
Nice.
check that out. Get yourself a big black coffee and listen away.
Coffee. I thought, coffee. Thought you said something else for a second there.
Oh my God, the cock. Oh my God, the cock. Oh my God, the cock.
Yeah, Comic Shop Talk tomorrow night. We'll be having Flip City Magazine on. That's going to be very fun to have them on. Very fun people promoting a cool Mad Magazine type of free of the message. And of course, Smoking the Bed at next week for Toxic Tuesday. That's what, and of course, I'll be on TNT. So if you're a TNT watcher, come to TNT. If you're a Clubhouse watcher, stick with the house. Thanks for having me, Tom. This is a fun show. And making fun of Zack Snyder is like Norm Macdonald making fun of O.J. Simpson. It's repetitive, but never any less deserved.
It's natural.
Just natural, indeed. Price of Reason, what you got going on? You got the Quantum Leap show later on?
Yeah, I have it at 10 p.m. on the channel that's called Price of Reason Live. It's not the regular channel, it's the live channel. Price of Reason Live at 10 p.m. We look at we rewatch classic episodes of Quantum Leap. And if you're a fan of that show, the original show, I think you're going to like it. And
that was some shade thrown at Klobby there. I could hear it.
No, I didn't take it that way.
and Script is on that show too, by the way. Script Doctor is on that show.
Oh, that's some more shade. He's like, Script shows up at least.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
No, which episode is tonight, Price? No, I'm
It's
just
called
playing with you.
All Americans. I sent you a link if you happen to. I know you won't have time to watch it. But
I have the Blu-rays. I just got to get to them.
You have
You're
to watch
always
it at
welcome, but I
1.25
don't see a
speed to catch
situation
up.
where you're gonna have enough time to watch the episode and be on it. But you're always welcome, of course. If you can pull off the miracle, you're always welcome.
Well, if anything, I'll just watch the episode. It's not like I don't know the setup to that point, so But I'll just have to catch it on where it's like, okay, I got enough time to watch the episode beforehand. And then I know where you guys are at, and I can just kind of keep up or whatever. If not, we'll see what we can do here. I'll try to make at least one episode.
Cool, man. And we can set it up in advance, one that you know in advance, and we don't have to do it that you're rushing last minute.
I'll look through the episodes again. You guys are in what, season 2?
We're in season 2 now. Yeah, I think this is season 2, episode 14.
All right, I'll start looking at them and see which one maybe I'll catch up with. All right, on that note, speaking of script, you got that later on. Anything else you want to plug?
Just Saturday Script on Saturday show, 7 p.m. Eastern, reviewing a new script that's been circulating around for a few months. So yeah, come check us out Saturday at 7 Eastern, my channel, youtube.com/scriptdoctor.
Clubby, what you got going on?
Well, we got the clubhouse tonight, of course, in about a little over half an hour. The wonderful Commander Briggs, when the great Chief Engineer Mark D. We will be have a Blake 7 episode review, a Kolchak the Nine Stalker episode review, and a Star Trek comic review, and all that good stuff. And tomorrow on my buddy J Man's channel, continue our review of all of Jack Kirby's legendary run in the Fantastic Four. And of course, Nick's already told you about the big show he's got going on. So, and it's Saturday Night Star Trek, so that's what I got going on. And thank you for having me, buddy. As always, appreciate being here.
The big show.
Yeah.
Yes, well, always a pleasure to have you here, sir.
Thank you, sir.
And happy birthday to Superman and Andre, of course. I don't think he's listening, but
Andre,
happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
And with that, I'm going to let y'all go. Take care of yourselves and each other. And until next time, just remember, Godzilla loves you. And go make a lasagna burrito.